So says YouTube. We'll wait and see. So this is gonna at least mainstream Q&A. I'm gonna start with talking about the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, and why Jews pray towards that wall. Oh, wait, hang on. I'll just see if I'm actually here. Audio, video. Yes. Okay. So it's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. What's the deal with the kotel? What's the deal with the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, kotel maaravi? So kotel means wall, maaravi means Western. It's known as the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall. The Western Wall is actually not, as some people have a misconception, it's not one of the ancient walls of the temple. It's the ancient walls of the perimeter that was constructed around the Temple Mount. So there were four walls originally going around the mountain upon which the temple stood, and now we have the mosques of Omar and Al Aqsa, right? The golden mosque and the silver one. Hey, good morning, Stephanie. The audio is going in and out. Hang on a second. Let's see. Let's see. You know what? I'll try and get a bit closer. Hello, hello, hello. Is that better? Let's see. Turn on the audio. And. Lagging a bit. No, still not there. Still not quite there, is it? Hang on a second. Let's try and clean the mic. All right, sorry about that if you're with headphones in. Okay. Let me know. And if it's still an issue, I'll plug in the mic that I have. No, it seems to be. It does seem to still be. People, let me know. Can you hear me properly? Can you not hear me properly? No, let's do it this way. I'll put this a bit closer. There, I think that should be it. Okay. That's better. Perfect. I can hear you now. Excellent. All right. Dev Coffee, how you doing, man? Oi, you're sick. I'm sorry to hear that you're sick. Food poisoning. Oh, that sucks. Miserable in bed for the past 2 days. Glad to see you live. Some entertainment. Yes. Yeah, some entertainment. Oh, man. That really sucks. I wish you a healthy and speedy recovery. May it be so. Kevin Spence is here, a little muffled still. Okay, so Stephanie says it's good. Zero Chill says it's good. We're just gonna roll with that and pretend that it's all good. So I started talking about the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, kotel maaravi. So it's not the wall of the temple; it's the wall of the perimeter, right, that went around the temple. The only one that has been left is the Western Wall. The ancient teachings and traditions and our sages teach us that the Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence, has never left the Western Wall. So the West corresponds to the divine feminine presence. The West corresponds to the element of earth. The West corresponds to the final Hey in God's name of Yod Hey Vav Hey. And so we have the final Hey corresponding to the divine feminine presence, corresponding to the element of earth, corresponding to the West. And this all comes together in the Wailing Wall, which is in the West, which is made of stone, which is a place that's sacred to Israel, which are also representative of the divine feminine presence. And it's that final Hey, which also has to do with repentance, it has to do with returning, it has to do with elevating it to the let's say, to the being higher feminine, the first Hey of Yod Hey Vav Hey. We can barely hear you, dude. Okay, but people are telling me the sound is good, so maybe it's on your end. Maybe it's on your end. Hang on a second. Let's see. I'll try one more time. I'll put the audio on. No, seems good. Seems good to me. Check out David. Check out your audio setup. Fine weather is here. Ostro is here. Good to see you again. Donkey Camel is here. Good morning. Good morning to you. It's in and out. Patrick says, dude, maybe. Dude, maybe what? Dude, maybe stop preaching. I'm not preaching, you fool. I'm not a preacher. I didn't mean to call you a fool. I mean, I did because to anybody it would be obvious that while you may not be a foolish individual, right, that is a foolish thing to say because I'm not a preacher. So I'm not preaching. I'm here having conversations with people. And I start off usually a live stream by, a few minutes talking about a specific thing. And from there it branches out into all the chaotic wonders that the chat brings with it. Algie says, good morning, Palestine. Indeed, good morning. Where can I contact you? Maybe I can send you a microphone. I actually do have a condenser microphone that I used during the June broadcasts when I was doing half a screen of me showing something or playing a video and reacting to it. So I had to have a mic set up here. Everyone kick back to hit that like and subscribe. And let's listen to the story the man has to tell, Zero. Well, again, it's not a story. We're having a conversation, Zero, but I do appreciate it. Xavier says, this might be a weird question, but I feel like almost every Jewish person I've met is for whatever reason incredibly intelligent. This is an overgeneralization. It's uncanny to me. Well, first of all, congratulations. You met the first Jew that is completely unintelligent. Ding. Second of all, I know that people have things to say about IQ, people have things to say about the general deviation of Jews on average. I don't know if that's true, not for me to say. Why that is, I have no idea. I'm loath to make such broad generalizations, but I don't know. I really do not know. I suppose you've met some really highly intelligent Jews in your life, so good for you. Yo, I'm in the toilet taking a fat dump water lifting. Good for you. If you could describe in detail the dump. Is it runny? Is it solid? Is it hurting? Is it like a wonder dump where it goes floop? Or is it, you need to put in the effort? What is it that you ate? Is there corn or chili or bits of lint in the poop? I mean, what toilet seat are you on? Is there a bidet? Is it toilet paper? Are you using double ply, triple ply, quadruple ply? These things matter, right? Are you farting as you are pooping? What is it exactly? Give us the play-by-play. I think I can speak for everyone in the chat when I say we are exceedingly interested in the goings-on. Well, I'm a goy, but you are a manic, says Patrick. I mean, I'm manic? Do you think so? Do you really think so? That's nice. What's with the hair, bro? You into the ganja? I'm a Nazarite paladin, though I have been into the ganja in the past. I'm a fan of marijuana, but I no longer partake. So I am into ganja, though I don't smoke it, and the hair is Nazarite hair. That's what it is. Tactical Slop says I'm a goy, but I love you, my friend. Have a good night, and you, and you. Sources say Korean, Japanese, Chinese have the highest IQ. Yeah, that also probably makes sense, Juan Gonzalez. Sure, because why not, right? He seems generally based and always in a good mood. Panka says, do you follow the entire rules if the Nazarene means a person from Nazareth or a Christian that's part of a Nazarene church. Nazarite means a man or woman of the Hebrews who took on a Nazarite vow, like not going near dead bodies. So I'm a Samson Nazarite, which means that the prohibition against contact with dead bodies, human corpses, does not apply. It applies to the other three forms of Nazariteship, but not to the Samson Nazarite. Good morning. Have a blessed day. Hey, Milosh. Good to see you again. Good to see you again. Zion will fall and Judaism will fall. Yeah, that baseline. People have been saying that for many thousands of years. Every kingdom or empire that's ever said that and actually went through and exiled, they're all gone, pretty much. The Hebrews, like the rat, vermin, cockroaches that we are, persist and exist despite that being a pain in many asses and a hot poker in a many penises. Hey, Shreya's here. This is Shreyas, and good to see you again. It's always nice and refreshing to listen to you and your answers. Again, it's not necessarily answers, it's more addressing questions, because answers is a bit too much of an absolute for me. Are you anti-shower? No, math is not always fun. First of all, I think you've been here before. Good to see you again. And if not, indeed, math is not always fun. I deeply appreciate those who can speak that language. I'm simply not one of them. And no, I actually showered less than an hour ago. So I'm not anti-shower. I am pro-hygiene, pro-wellness, pro-bathing, pro-shower. Are you an Israeli? Yes, I am. Ricardo. We exist out of spite. Yeah, hey, we are a thorn in many sides. Truth Light says, love Israel. Yes, indeed. I have a question. What happened to Judah? Do you mean Judah, son of Jacob? Do you mean Judah, the kingdom? What do you mean, Ringo? My neighbors invited me over for gefilte fish sandwich. Is it okay to ask for mayo? Well, first of all, it depends on the gefilte fish. Second of all, a gefilte fish sandwich? That doesn't sound right. You mean literally a sandwich between two slices of bread? That doesn't make any sense. As for mayo, yes, you probably should. These are important questions. Do you support Palestine? I support innocent people who might call themselves Palestinian, but there's never been such a thing as Palestine. It does not exist. It's what Rome called this region. It was never its own state, never its own country, never its own, sovereign nation. Yeah. Jewish final boss, respectfully. No, not the final boss by any means, though I appreciate the sentiment. What does the northern kingdom of Israel consist of? The 10 tribes that were exiled by the king of Assyria. So 10 tribes and parts of Levi. I think he means the kingdom. Well, okay, the kingdom of Judah. Most of them did not make it back from Babylon. And then there was another exile, right? And Greece and Assyria and Greek and Aram. And so, with every exile that the kingdom of Judah had undergone, less and less people came back from said exiles. And so now the people calling themselves Jews, who are the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and parts of Levi, they are the remnants of the ancient kingdom of Judah. Also, there are others who claim affiliation with the tribe of Judah, since Solomon was the king of Israel from the tribe of Judah, the line of David. He had many wives and a lot of progeny, and so there are different people claiming affinity and literal connection and relation to the tribe of Judah. But the Jews, as such, are the remnants of the kingdom of Judah that consist of the tribes of Benjamin, Yehuda, and Levi. I hope all has resolved itself for the best from the weekend. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, and we'll have to wait and see. But today, thank God, things are good, and I'm happy. But it's still in the back of my mind, everything that's going on there. You're Israeli, not an Israelite. The difference is crazy. No, Ricardo, that is not true. I'm an Israeli because I am a citizen of Israel, and I'm an Israelite because I am literally parts of the tribe of Israel. You don't have to be Jewish to be an Israeli citizen or resident, but you do need to be part of the Hebrew tribes to be an Israelite. And that there is a difference, but I am both. Who was the first king of the northern kingdom? Yerovam. Yerovam, son of Nevat. And he ruled alongside Rechavam, son of Solomon, after the kingdom split. Whoa, whoa, whoa. How did your country come to exist? It wasn't outsiders just drawing lines on the continent, was it? The country? No. The country, do you mean modern day state of Israel that was established in 1948? Do you mean the ancient kingdoms of Judah and Israel? Do you mean the kingdom before it was split? Do you mean when we were still nomadic tribes? What do you mean? What do you mean? But if you mean the country as in the modern day state of Israel, it was established after the British mandate of Palestine and Transjordan came to an end. And that is when we basically declared independence. There is no such thing as Israel. Jews are a fake construction, Galva Torek says. Well, you're welcome to believe that. That's all well and good. The problem is that that flies in the face of basically everything that has ever existed insofar as history and, those who actually do research, archaeology, academics, people who are, who know what they're talking about, who would disagree with you 1000% and more. Haile Selassie, His Imperial Majesty, was the only true genetically connected person to the 12 tribes. Yeah, that's not true even a little. Y'all are just white people practicing an old religion. Again, even if our melanin content would make our skin white, that has nothing to do with anything, and that just makes you a racist. The way white Christians practice Christianity. Pichirisu. Hey, Pichi or Pichirisu or Pikirisu. Hi, good to see you, man. So first of all, you are allowed to convert in the Hebrew faith. The Torah specifies this. It doesn't matter what my eye color is. It doesn't matter what my skin color is. It doesn't matter what my shirt color is. It doesn't matter what my penis color is. What matters is that you take on the yoke of the Torah, the commandments, the one Hebrew God, and the covenant therein, and then that makes you a Yid, a Jew, a Heb, a Shylock, an Israelite, a person of the tribes. So you may bitch and moan and scream and complain and claw and yell, oh, they have white skin. Unfortunately, man, that makes you nothing but a racist, or at the very least a bigot, because you believe that skin color actually says something about the spirituality of an individual. And while you may have been right if there were no conversions allowed according to Torah, that's simply not the case, which makes you 1000% in the wrong. I would look into it and do some more digging. All right. I take this fellow for Jewish. Very good, Marty Drew. Yes, indeed. Ay, ay. You talk about academic scholarly work. You should accept Palestinians are genetically closer to ancient Canaanites because they're Jewish. Before Islam and Christianity, they were Jews. Yes, I'm not. What do you mean? You're saying that as if I don't accept the hypothesis that people calling themselves now Palestinians have a connection to the land and likely to the Jews that were there before. But I do. I simply believe that they have been Arabized and Islamized. I never contradicted anybody who said that the ancient Palestinians, were Jews. In fact, I've said this many times. Rome called this place the province of Syria Palestina to spite the people of, you guessed it, Judea, who were revolting and rebelling against them. Eventually, they came, destroyed the temple, and exiled people. But at the beginning, the original Palestinians were Jews. That's what they called this place. They called it Assyria for the kingdom of Assyria that exiled the 10 tribes, and they called it Palestina, or what later became Palestine, right? Palestine, because of the people who invaded of the Greek Isles called Pleshet or Plishtim, Philistines, both of which were enemies of the Israelite people. And Rome wanted to make the Judeans forget about Jerusalem, forget about Judea. Eventually, in 70, right in the year 70 of the Christian calendar, they came and burned down the temple and destroyed Jerusalem, killed a ton of people, and exiled the Jews over the course of a couple of centuries. But the original Palestinians living in the land called Palestine, right, Assyria and Palestina, were Jews. And later on, when the British Mandate of Palestine and Transjordan was ongoing after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, there were also Jews here that had a Palestinian passport. So, however you want to look at it, the original Palestinians were Jews. You're here making a claim that I cannot accept the academic scholarly work that Palestinians are genetically closer to ancient Canaanites because they're Jewish. I've never said any such thing. It could very well be that they were Jewish, and I've said this, but they have been Islamized and Arabized. The Islamic conquest, the actual colonization of Arabia that spread all over the world almost, well, not all over the world, but to a large area in a few hundred years. An amazing conquest, the Arabian conquest, and the Islamization that came later. And Islam is one of the world's leading religions, and more people converting every single day. And so for me to say nope, they're all wrong, it's like okay, I never said that. So what is it? WMER2, WMER2. I never said that I don't accept such a thing. I definitely accept that hypothesis. The thing is that even if they were Jews, they're now converted Jews, and even if they were on the side of the tribes of Israel, they are now the leadership of the Palestinians is now vehemently anti-Jewish and anti-Israel, and they're fighting us, and they will not accept peace. They will not be a proper partner. They engage in terrorism. They encourage terrorism. They indoctrinate their youth to hate and be martyred for their cause and to line their bank accounts with money and their pockets too. So right now, even if they did start originally as Jews, and even if the genealogy agrees with what you're saying, and the ancestry as well, right now they are causing civil war. All right. For real, we'd probably be better off if Christ was the only Jew, says Yeet 46. Yeet. Old Testament Jews converted to Islam. Ashkenazis grew up as Europeans genetically. Matt, that is false. There were Jews that converted to Islam. Many converted in Europe after Shabtai Tzvi converted to Islam. But the Ashkenazis as a group are still Ashkenazi Jews. People cannot wrap their head around this thing that even if they are converts, their progeny immediately is 100% Jewish. Even if they converted and that very morning became Jews, they are 100% fused to the nation of Israel and to the Hebrew tribes and the Hebrew people. Yet people want to make this big stink about geography, skin color. the amount of times that they fart every single day, people will make up any excuse and give any reasoning and cite any source or statistic in order to confirm their own just dumbass, bigoted, racist, spiteful, hateful biases. And now I have some sympathy for the people who do that, right? We all have biases we want to have confirmed. And it's difficult to have sometimes the rug pulled from under the paradigm in which you live. But there are no two ways about this. Jews are Jews are Jews. And you could argue if they're converts, yes, but later on their progeny was 100% Jewish. You could say, oh, but they come from Europe. Yes, but before that they were here in Judea. They were exiled into Europe. They were exiled to Africa. They were exiled to Asia. They were exiled to wherever it was, right? They come from Judea. That's why we are called Ashkenazi Jews, Sephardi Jews, Mizrahi Jews, and so on and so forth. Yemenite Jews. The idea is the Jew. That's the active word there, that we are from Judea. And many people have a big problem with this, and that is a they problem, not a we problem. All right. You're simply wrong about your own faith. LMAO. I'm sorry, who said this? Yate46. Please explain my own faith to me. I would love to hear it, Yate. The faith in which I grew up to religious parents in Jerusalem, living out the Torah, carrying out the commandments. Please tell me, how am I wrong about my faith? You're not even saying about the way I'm speaking or what I'm saying. You're saying my faith. How is it that I'm wrong about my faith? I would love to hear it. Who is eldest son, Ishmael or Yitzchak? Ishmael is the eldest son. And unlike with Jacob and Esau, there was no buying of the firstborn blessing. And there was no taking of the firstborn blessing. So Isaac continued the covenant. Ishmael continued the covenant. Both houses are blessed. אתה יודע עברית? אכן רחום וחנון. אחלה של יוזרניים, אני יודע עברית. ומה איתך? אני מניח שכן. Do you have a career? Yes, Mike, I'm a writer. That's what I do for a living. Why does your nose look like that? Because it's a Jewish schnoz that's been broken a few times. אלוהים יברך אותך. ואותך. I'm wrong about everything. Ask me if you're gay. I'll tell you I'm straight. Ask again if I'm gay, but I'm probably a gay guy, holy gay. I'll bet you're holy if you're gay. That's the most gays anyone has ever put in one sentence, Joey says. I don't know, Joey Josh. I think there have been many more gays in a single sentence. Layback says, no other culture gets their conquered land handed back to them. Snap out of it, hypocrite. It's handed back to them? What are you talking about? There were people living here for the past 3,500 years, sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's always been the Hebrews' ancestral home. There has always been a Hebrew presence here in the land. It's not a question of being handed back. We went back to where we belong. The land was never actually made into any other, right? There were so many people conquering this place and raping it and liberating it and overtaking it and freeing it and from other people. But it always and ever remained the ancestral home of the Jews. Not only the Jews, but definitely that. So you don't know what you're talking about. As for no other culture gets their conquered land handed back, okay, let's grant that proposition and say that no other group of people in the history of the creation and all the universe has ever gotten their land back after it was conquered by others. Okay, all that means is that the Hebes are the first to do it. Congratulations, Hebes. Why, thank you. As for handed back to them, that's you trying to make it seem as if it belonged to someone else, as if someone else had made their home there and was a proper state, a proper sovereign nation, and that never happened, ever. It was a wasteland until Zion, right? Until Zionism, modern day Zionism, reared its head. And you can argue over the state of modern day Zionism, the religious aspects and the socialist, secular aspects. But one thing there is no doubt. It was the Zionists in the last 150 years or so that caused the desert to bloom. This is true. You could look it up historically. People doing a pilgrimage to the Holy Land who were describing it and how desolate and barren it is. And now look, you can't, but I can. Look, gorgeous. It's a pact with Satan. Yes, we do have a pact with Satan. Satan is the adversary. We don't have a devil like in the Christian faith. We have an adversary, and the adversary is what helps us, puts us to the test, challenges us, causes us to be more than what we are. That is the role of the adversary. Because without an adversarial element pushing against you, you will never actually be able to know just how far you can get and what you can do if you're not challenged. You don't truly know who you are unless you are tested. Now, this is not to say that we have an agreement with Satan where we bow down to the adversary, but I do acknowledge that Satan, literally Hebrew for the adversary, is a servant and a noble servant at that of the Most High God. You are hateful. uh, you clowns. What have I said that's hateful? Anybody in the chat, chime in. It's 100 people here right now. Have I said anything hateful? Hateful. Not that you don't like, something hateful. What have I said? Do you all consider Abraham a Sumerian or Jew? Well, he wasn't a Jew because the kingdom of Judah, the tribe of Judah, the people of Judea were not there. And he is not a Sumerian. He was from Mesopotamia or Ur-Kasdim. And then he made the pilgrimage to Canaan. So I consider Avram to be a Hebrew, not a Sumerian or a Jew. Who is Amalek right now? Unknown, Petros. It's unknown who Amalek is right now. There are many people who frivolously and unwarrantedly, if that's a word, they just use the term Amalek as if to say someone deserving of death, someone who should be put to death. However, I believe that words really matter in this case because Amalek is the only nation that we are indeed still commanded to genocide, eradicate its memory from under the heavens. Under the heavens. At the root, we are all one. Above the heavens, as it were, we're all one. Under the heavens, their memory needs to be eradicated according to Torah. That means men, women, children, toddlers, infants, cattle, livestock, everything. Now, we don't know who the people of Amalek are nowadays. I hope we will never find out. I would rather us bypass that whole thing. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to genocide anybody. And incidentally, there is no genocide going on in Palestine right now. People are full of shit. But I digress. That's the only actual genocide that would be ongoing is if Hamas and the terrorist organization had their way. Thankfully, they don't. So Amalek, nowadays, we don't know who they are. We don't know, and which is why I'm very, very against using the term Amalek simply to describe somebody who you think is against you and deserving of death. That's not cool. Amalek has a meaning, a very, very crucial meaning. A super chat came in. Hey, Vigil, I'll remind you at this juncture that all the money that you bring into this this channel from ad revenue, super chats, super thanks, super stickers, all of it after YouTube takes its cut goes to charity here in Jerusalem to different organizations that serve the entire population, East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, no matter what your religion, faith, eye color, skin color, penis color, whatever it is, individuals and families, they got your back, they'll take care of you, towards purchasing better sound equipment. If not applicable, then for charity of your choice. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe I should probably invest a little bit and get better sound equipment, or maybe a better camera. I don't know, but okay. Why so much pride? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Layback music. Where is their pride? Because I try to stay away from pride. I'm not a pushover, and I know how to push back, but that's not necessarily pride. I'm very much not into pride, right? Arrogance, vanity, puffing out my chest. I'm not into that at all. Oh, yeah. There isn't a genocide. No, Salim, there isn't a genocide. For genocide, there needs to be numbers to back it up, and there aren't. There needs to be intent, and there isn't, by and large, although individuals do have that intent. And there needs to be the action to carry it out, which there isn't. So, on all three of those highly crucial things that would categorize a genocide proper, there is no genocide going on. And people who say that are simply either misinformed or eating the Hamas slop and drinking the terrorist Kool-Aid. Now, are there innocent people dying? Yes, unfortunately, that is the nature of war. Is there such a thing as collateral damage? Yes, that is the nature of war. Is Hamas the one that, at whose feet it can be laid? 100% yes. And if, right, because they're the ones embedding themselves into the civilian population for the purpose, the express intent of making the death toll higher and higher and higher. They don't give a crap about their population. They put their munitions and headquarters and weapons caches in schools and mosques and homes and hospitals. They make use of UNRWA vehicles, Red Crescent vehicles. They don't give a crap. All they care about is money and death. Now, are there individual people in the army and in government that are, I've said this before many times, psychopathic, homicidal, genocidal? Yes, they don't belong in the army or in the government. And if they do carry out their thoughts and their intent, and they put action behind it and actually murder, not kill, you are allowed to kill in a war. Murder is not okay. If they are actually murdering people and sniping innocent civilians, then yes, they belong in prison or to be put to death themselves. That is according to the Torah, that is according to halacha, rabbinic law, that is according to the state of Israel. Brother, you are goofy. Yes, I am goofy, I'll give you that, says Salim. This is ridiculous. There's countless videos and pictures all over the web of innocent children. Again, if there are innocent children and families getting killed, that's to be put at the feet of Hamas. Hamas are the ones placing themselves inside of the homes of these children and families, inside of the schools, inside of the hospitals, the mosques, right? So who is it that's actually at fault here? It is Hamas. Hamas could have really, after Israel withdrew over 20 years ago from Gaza, they could have said, all right, we've got Gaza, let's surrender, lay down our arms, without even an official unconditional surrender, and just focus on making Gaza into a beautiful beachside, seaside paradise. But instead they said, now let's just continue on our merry terrorist ways. They stole the money, all of the aid money. They piss all over their population regularly. They rule them as a dictatorship with an iron fist. To wit, they were elected democratically in 2006, and since then there has been no other election. And they murdered their opposition in the Fatah, killed them like dogs in the street. That is the people who were elected democratically. The people of Gaza elected Hamas democratically, a terrorist organization. And since then, the people who have been indoctrinated into the lore and doctrine of Hamas have been taught to hate, have been taught that the squalor and the poverty, the low quality of life that they are existing in is due to the Zionist occupying pig dog colonial, assholes, when in fact it's entirely, once again, you guessed it, Hamas. And for those individuals who are indeed killing innocent people for the sake of murder, I do not back them at all. I think that is reprehensible. I condemn them and their actions. Even if we are in the midst of a very dense urban warfare against impossible odds with population-wise, the ratio is still pretty awesome when it comes to combatant to non-combatant. I've heard this not because I know analytics of war and military strategy. I know this because I've heard others who know what they're talking about speak of this. Of course, it's disputed as well because people will find ways to blame Israel anyway. But all things considered, Israel is fighting the most humane war possible by and large. The individual soldiers who go against the law and international law and who murder, they belong in jail or in prison or under in a grave, right? Okay. Let us continue. Hamas is shooting themselves with missiles? First of all, yes, they are. Hamas at the time, less now because of the war. But yes, a lot of time, I don't remember, you know what? I'll look it up right now. What percentage of Hamas munitions, what percentage of Hamas munitions backfired? 10 to 20% of rockets fired by Hamas and other militant groups backfire and with launch failures landing inside the Gaza Strip. So 1 in 10 or 1 in 5, that's how much, which is not insignificant. So yes, Yate 46, Hamas is shooting themselves with rockets, not missiles. They don't have missiles, they have rockets. AA is here, Jefferson is here. The waste of your time, soldier on the Torah, the people of Israel need you. Yes, you know what? Hey, it's all well and good. This is what this channel is for. This channel was initially created for discussions on faith, spirituality, religion, self-development, things like psychology and philosophy, right? Ontology, eschatology for those who are interested in it, and whatever the chat brings. And what the chat has decided to do ever since I decided to open up a little bit about the war and the conflict is to keep bringing it at me, which is also why I'm reconsidering the Ba Sing Se approach. For the first year and a half of the war, when it broke out after October 7th, I said nothing. I did not speak. This was a conflict-free zone, a war-free zone, this channel. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. And now after a year and a half of talking about it almost nonstop every single stream, I'm actually heavily, seriously considering going back to the Ba Sing Se approach. In the poll that I put up in the community tab, most of the people do not want me to revert to a no politics policy. But I might just have to do it. I just might have to do it. I mean, according to me, not according to them. History says Jews were expelled from multiple nations throughout times because of usury. I just don't know how valid it is because conqueror always rewrites history. Well, okay, first of all, people have this bullshit idea of 109 or 110 nations, and that's not the case. It's been between 15 and 20 max, and that's including the Arab Muslim states that actually ethnically cleansed Jews from their midst after the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. The very famous expulsions from Portugal, from Spain, from England, those are actually well known. Jews also have been expelled from plenty of villages, towns, counties, cities, and so on, but not entire nations, not 109 of them anyway. There have been about 15 to 20 nations that the Jews were expelled from. As for usury, I think that Jew hatred, I've said this many times, and many people have said it before me, Jew hatred is a shape-shifting idea, a shape-shifting virus. Jews will be hated for anything and everything all of the time. All of the time. And this is not me crying victim. This is actual reality, history, documented. They're either too rich, or the Jews are too poor, they're too secular, or too religious, they're in their ghettos, or they overly are integrating, right? They don't marry our women, or they're taking all of our women. They are a subversive revolutionary cult. No, they're actually at the top of the leadership and controlling the people. They control the banks, or they control industry, media. It's the Jewish cabal that is pulling the strings of everybody. It's like people will find any and every reason for Jew hatred to be made manifest and hide behind the excuses, maybe even unbeknownst to them that it is an excuse. Maybe they do actually think that this is what is going on. But nevertheless, history repeats itself in a sense that the Jew will be hated again and again and again for whatever reason is popular at the time. And whatever's trendy, whatever the zeitgeist will make manifest. And Jews are not the only minority to be hated regularly. Definitely not. But if we are here on a channel that's run by a Hebrew man talking about the Hebrew thing, then yes. And you over there, Michael Mayhew, good to see you again, is talking about the conqueror rewriting history and that Jews were expelled. Yes, Jews have been expelled. Ask the people who made the expulsions. Let's continue. Scrolling down. Jefferson says, "Answer me, coward." See, once again, there are over 100 people here in the chat right now. Yet Jefferson McPherson has his head so far up his own ass that he thinks that in the chat that's moving fairly rapidly, I am singling him out and ignoring him and doing it in a cowardly manner. So please get your head out of your ass, breathe the air, my friend, and please understand that when a channel has over 100 people right now and the chat moves fairly rapidly, I don't have time to engage with each and every one of the chats that come in. There were times when I did, but then in order to keep the dynamic quality of the chat going, I address something and I scroll down and then I address the next something. So I'm not ignoring anyone, I'm not banning anyone, I'm not censoring anyone, there's no timeouts, there are no mods, it's a free-range chat. I love the haters, I love the spammers, I love the Nazis, I love the trolls in the chat, I love the ones who are giving love and encouragement, I love the ones who are asking, questions of substance. So all of it is a win-win-win-win as far as I'm concerned, for me, for you, for the algorithm, and for the advertisers of YouTube. It's all well and good. I'm happy that you're here, but don't make the mistake of thinking that I'm ignoring you out of some cowardice. I may be a coward in other things in life, sure. When it comes to a YouTube chat with somebody anonymous who's just a keyboard warrior, that is what I'm afraid of, really. I am a coward because you typed words and pressed send or tapped enter or whatever it was. You actually think that I'm seeing it, ignoring you, and that is cowardice. Do you see how misguided your position is right now and how much of a fool it makes you look? If I do come across your question in the chat, I definitely will address it. Incidentally, good people, if I do miss you in the chat, mea culpa, my apologies. Leave a comment because I address every comment that is addressed to me that YouTube notifies me of. Those are Nazis. They made people into lamps, says Danielle. Yes, Nazis made people into lamps. They were not the first one to use human skin for, construction of furniture and other things, or lighting devices, I'm sure. Danielle, you are ridiculous. That is a stupid conspiracy theory. Ich bin ein Nerdable. Hi, Nerdable. You are indeed. That was hateful. When you said you're entitled, I never used the word entitled. Screw you. You're putting words in my mouth. That is disingenuous, and it's also dishonest, and it exactly shows your character and your ignorance. You could have made a proper point. You could have made an actual legitimate argument, but you decided, no, I'm going to put a word in his mouth that has a lot of weight and a lot of gravitas in order to what? For people to sympathize with you in the chat? Again, you're coming off as an ignorant fool when you are putting words in my mouth. I'll give you another shot. I happened to come across your chat now, and I did read it out, and I will continue. But when I read the word entitled, no, I did not use the word entitled. If you're going to use that word in such a heavy context, then at least say what I said. I never said we are entitled. Never. Now, if you want to say, bullshit, Jonathan, that's semantics, don't come at me with semantics, but words have meaning. So I will take issue with you saying that I said entitled when I did not, because I don't believe anybody is entitled to anything. I believe that creation belongs to the Creator. I believe that the land is given to human beings to be stewards and caretakers of the land, much like we were given this earth, right? And creation in before Jews and Gentiles ever were a thing, before the country or state of Israel was a thing, there was humanity in Eden receiving dominion over all things. And that is the way that I take it. And there was a covenant, right? And there was a promise, and there's a history. All of that is thousands of years old. I'm talking about what's going on here and now. I don't think we're entitled to it here and now. I think that we have earned it in the sense that there was a presence here unbroken for thousands of years, and that has merit. I think that people have always called this place the home of the Jews, and that has merit. I think the Jews themselves have always been aspiring to return to Zion. That has merit. And I think that the Jews have proven themselves worthy by fighting for this place repeatedly, continuously, and that also has merit. So however you choose to look at it, there's merit for calling this place the ancestral home of the Jewish people, of the tribes of Israel. Does that burn your ass? Oh no. Whatever will I do? Now let's continue with your comment. You said you're entitled to the land because it was a wasteland. Bullshit. I said it was a wasteland, and it didn't belong to any specific nation or state or country or empire. That is what I said. You are intentionally misrepresenting what I said to make yourself look good, and all that does is put on full display, once again, your ignorance, your malevolent intent, and your foolishness. That's judgment, ego, pride. Okay, let's dispel that right now. I am judgmental, but not about this. I am egotistical, egocentric, but not about this. And I do have pride, but not about this. And I am doing what I can, sometimes more, sometimes less, to be less judgmental, less full of myself, and less proud. People in the regulars in the chat, do let Jefferson know what is the one quality that I say that I try and abide by that is the key to all good qualities and the root of all positive attributes. Let it go. Nice nose, bro. Thanks, Eat Brick. It is a pretty nice nose. Lachum the Chanun says, tell me about yourself. Well, I'm a Nazarite. I took a Samson and Nazarite vow 16 years ago. I'm 43, married with children. I work as a writer, and I can do this. Now, of course, many people can do that as well. I'm not singling myself out here. It's just that I don't see too many people with the underarm fart or the underleg fart these days, and so I have, right? It's an effort to make it to just keep it going. You got to keep it going. Let's continue. I can do that without armpits. Ooh, Jim Golsa in the house. Yates says, I guess it burns. Burns, Mr. Burns. You know his name. It's Mr. Burns. Okay, volume is fading. Hey, So-So, how you doing? Are fish allowed at the holy wall? Well, I don't know of any law, halachic or state law, that forbids fish from being at the wall. So presumably, dead or alive, yes, they are allowed. I would think so. The knee fart is less common. Agreed, Robbie Killian. Let's go with that too. That is less common. Even less common is the crook of the neck fart, which I can't do, which is when you have a bit of moisture there, or people can do like this, and make the fart sound from the nook of their neck over here. So I can't do that. Maybe in time. Maybe in time. Call you cannon fodder. Hey, shiny wizard, how you doing? D2 says, interesting. Indeed, there are some interesting things going on. It's true, it's true. Michael says, I hate the fact that in the Old Testament they say turn the other cheek. It does not say that in the Old Testament. It says that in the Book of Lamentations. It gives me enslavement programming vibes. It doesn't say turn the other cheek. Usually it says if somebody comes at you, fight them. That's usually the case. But in the Book of Lamentations, and right in the sense of Jeremiah telling the people to humble themselves, right? I mean, right? You put your cheek up to be smacked. But that's the Book of Eicha. That's the Scroll of Lamentations. Let's continue. אתה מזכיר לי את דוד החקיין בנראות שלך ובחיוך, גדלתי על הבדיחות שאני אומר את זה כמחמאה. Thank you, I appreciate that. אני לא ממש מכיר אותו. You remind me of David the impersonator with your looks and smile. I grew up on his jokes. I say that as a compliment. Thanks, Naturani. I appreciate that a great deal. Though I know the name, but I've never seen his act. Are his bits any good? What a useless human, says Hacking World Travel. I am indeed useless. However, I am trying to live life in such a way where my usefulness will come into the picture. So far, 43 years with a career and kids and family, and doing different things in life, I still feel like I can be of use. But I don't know. I haven't been of use yet, I suppose, and not to you. So Hacking World Travel 2505, how can I be of use to you? Because let's grant that and say that I'm a useless human all the time, constantly. From the moment I came out of my mother's vagina up until right now, I've been completely and utterly useless. I want to be of use to you, Hacking World. So how can I be of use to you? I would love to know. Let us continue. See how people insult him and he doesn't get as upset with my valid statement questions? Jefferson, when people insult me, they're probably simply projecting. When you have a valid statement and question, it is also you projecting. Both of you are simply taking something on the inside that you want to say and spewing it on the chat. And that's what it's there for. Now, he doesn't get as upset with my valid statement or argument? I don't understand. Are you saying that I'm not getting upset at the questions, but I am getting upset at the insults? Because you're wrong on both counts. I'm not upset by either one of them. I've been doing this for years. I already know not what I'm going to say. I already know how to handle haters and people with actually valid questions or comments or statements. Now, this is partly why I do this as a long-form live Q&A. Unscripted, unfiltered, raw, right? And I ask people, push back against me, challenge me, fact check me, show me where I am wrong. You'll have to actually bring some evidence, probably, so leave a comment. And there has been once or twice in this chat where I was wrong, and somebody messaged me or left a comment later and said, here's what you said, here's how you are wrong. And I said, oh my God, you're right. And I pinned that comment, and I made a comment diverting people to that comment, and I acknowledged it and addressed it in a subsequent live stream and told people to go check that out, because that made me less ignorant. It made me better and smarter and wiser, and I was indebted to that individual, and I gave him my thanks. So I'm not upset by what you're saying. You feel free to say whatever it is you got to say. That's why there are no mods. That's why there are no bans. That's why there are no timeouts. That's why there is no censorship, other than the very minimal YouTube censorship that is employed here. But if I wanted people like you to not have a mouth and open up over here in the chat, I would have put all of the conflict-related words on a ban list of words, and your statements or comments would not have been able even to come through, let alone for me to see them. So you're full of crap, honestly. about this. You may be a highly intelligent, kind, graceful, benevolent, altruistic individual. Right here, right now, Jefferson, you're coming off as, like I said, a little ignorant, a little foolish, and full of crap. Now, if you are mentally full of crap, physically full of crap, go to the bathroom, and this is the bathroom right here. Yoel says, check Palestinians. Before Israel existed, what country was there? Their Palestinians tell the truth. Also, check Street Smart Hebrew and Sahar TV for the reality of Palestinians living in Israel. Yes, a lot of Arab, Israelis, Muslim, Christian, 2 million of them living here. Some call themselves Palestinian. There is a push and pull and a great tension between the Israeli identity and the Palestinian identity. That is true. I wouldn't know what to do if I was an Arab Israeli. I really don't. But I will say to their credit, the Arab Israelis are a fifth of the population. 2 million people. That's nothing small. That's 20%. That's a fifth of the population. And they're doing a great job. They really are. Of course, the occasional terrorist comes out of their midst. That's to be expected. But right, because of religion, because of indoctrination, because of history and war and bloodshed, and actual people that murder their brothers and sisters. So that's to be expected. But generally speaking, the Arab Israeli people here in Israel are a stand up group who have gone through a lot and have gone through a lot, or some of them probably still go through a lot of racism, discrimination, not at the government level, not at a systemic level, but at the level of individuals. And there might be a level of mistrust. I've worked with Arabs, I've served with Arabs in the army, right, with Druze and with others. So I know a thing or two. I do not mind Muslims. I do not mind Christians. I do not mind Arabs. I've also worked with Arab Israeli Jews from Syria, incidentally. Okay. Is Kabbalah a common practice among Jews or more of a sect? So it's neither. Steve Fleming. There are instances and things of Kabbalah that have found their way into the mainstream. The classic example of this is reincarnation, which is not mentioned ever. It's a Kabbalistic idea that's made its way into the mainstream. There is no halacha, there is no rabbinic law that pertains to reincarnation, yet you will find that many people do believe in it and acknowledge that it's a thing. So that's where Kabbalah is what you would call not common practice, but it's common thought. As for Kabbalistic things becoming common practice, the classic example of this is Kabbalat Shabbat, is the Psalms that are recited before Sabbath comes in, or just as it comes in on Friday evening. Also, there are many, many different things that have joined the prayer book that are Kabbalistic in nature. All of it, really, but it's less apparent depending on the prayer book that you use. So it's common practice among Jews in the sense that certain Kabbalistic things are baked right into the orthodoxy nowadays. But it's not a sect because are there Kabbalistic sects? Yes, there are. Very famously, Bnei Baruch, right, the descendants of Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Leib Levi Ashlag, the commentator of Baal HaSulam on the Zohar. That would be considered a sect, right? There are also Hasidic sects that are very Kabbalistic in nature, more of a Hasidic sect. But Kabbalah is a teaching, it's a lore, right? It's the study of the tree of life, of the 10 sfirot, the 10 divine emanations, the 10 revelations through which God is revealed in the world, right? I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. That is the Kabbalah. Kabbalah means to receive. And the more Kabbalah that you learn, the more you are able to understand yourself and know yourself and your place in the world. That's on a universal level. And on a practical Hebrew, Jewish, Orthodox commandment level, there are the different yichudim. There are the different connections that you can make because you know the channels of energy and the relationships between the divine revelations as you are speaking the words, thinking, thoughts, bringing the divine masculine and divine feminine presence together in unity. That is the Kabbalah. So it is common practice, sometimes unintentionally so. And if you're a Kabbalist or if you study Kabbalah, it's also common practice. And it's not a sect, though there are sects that are more Kabbalistic in nature. Jerusalem is in Israel. Yes, it is. Hi, Tenebrous. So many anti-Semites, y'all need a hobby or two. Yeah, people, people love to hate. People love to hate. And if it wasn't this, it's the other thing. And not the other thing, then it's that thing. It's like people dig the hating. People, I think, have such empty, negative, sad, pathetic parts of themselves. and they project it onto a random dumbass's live stream as if it's actually making some sort of a sound argument or coherent, something, right? A contention of some kind, an assertion of some kind with a leg to stand on. Nope. They are literally just here to spew their bile, their toxicity, their poison. Now, I'm all for that. That's why I don't ban them. Maybe if they get enough of the poison out of their system, they will be able to create that vessel, like vacate themselves a little bit in order for positive vibration, kindness, grace, benevolence, goodness to make an appearance inside of them where there was once just rot and gook and hate and malevolence and bigotry and racism. And I also do believe that there are those who think that Israel is a cancer, Israel is the devil, Israel is the church of Satan, Israel is a virus, Israel is a parasite, Israel needs to be eradicated, Israel is the source of all woe, and Israel is the source of all tragedy and all poverty and all sickness and disease, mental and physical and spiritual alike. And they think that they are on the right side of history, wanting to eradicate this evil and cleanse the world of this plague called Israel. The thing is that even though I'm sympathetic to their cause, is this the right way to go about it? I ask you. Okay, let us continue. Scrolling down in the chat. Who did it, man? You're ducking the question. W31RD000. This is the first time I'm laying eyes on your username, let alone ducking the question. I have no idea what question I am ducking, so I have no idea. Maybe repeat it or someone else repeat it, but for now, yes, scrolling down. Can a Noahide wear a kippah? Yes, Omar. A kippah only became rabbinic law in the last few hundred years. It does have its origins in the priestly head covering. It does have its origins in the ways of the old pious sages of ancient times, but it only became halacha in the last few hundred years. I don't wear a kippah. Can a Noahide wear a kippah? Yes, they can. There is no such commandment to wear a kippah. It's a custom that became halacha, right? That became rabbinic law. So anybody and everybody can wear a kippah. The thing is that the kippah has become such a tool of divisiveness and judgment and infighting and boof. That's why I don't wear one, aside from the Nazarite hair. And that's why my kids don't wear them either. Hello, sir. Thank you for imparting your wisdom. Brent, it's not my wisdom. I am merely standing on the shoulders of wise and knowledgeable giants. It's not my wisdom. It's Hebrew lore from days of yore. And while I do sometimes put my spin on it, I do not consider myself knowledgeable or wise in any way, shape, or form. I have been very privileged and honored and lucky to study alongside some true masters in my time, and people I consider to be very sage individuals. But nevertheless, I'm just a student. I am a learner. I'm not a master, not a sage, not a rabbi, not a preacher, not a teacher. I'm not educated. Nothing. Nothing. Never went to college. Don't have a university degree. I did go to film school. That was enough. Are you Zionist? Yes, I am. Kalumx. Calum X. I am a biblical Zionist and a modern day Zionist, but as I always say, I do not excuse what everybody or anybody does in the name of Zionism. There are reprehensible individuals who do horrible things, abhorrent things, and then slap the label of Zionism on it and think that that makes it kosher, ethical, and moral. With them, I disagree. Them, I condemn, as do I condemn those actions. They are not proper, not cool, and they should pay the price and go to trial and be brought to justice. You can't just put the label of Zionism on something and make it kosher. You can't just whitewash, right? Zionist wash certain things. Truth is, who does shit like that? Says Bread did it. Bread did do it. I'll tell you that. Hello, I have a question. Hi, Premai75. Go for it. Did the rabbis tell you to abstain from having a bath? No, actually, I do shower on the regular. I love a bath. I love baths, but I don't have a bath in my apartment right now. In previous times when I had a nice bath, I used to turn the lights off, put music on, light incense, essential oils, bath bombs, the whole 9 yards. And I love it. I love a good bath. I love it. Oh, soaking in a bath is so good. And I've only had showers basically for the past few years that I've been in this apartment, but I do love baths. And I actually showered an hour and a half ago. A lot of people, again, because of their own projection, of their own insecurities, they feel the need to come on here and they see the wild beard and they see the wild hair and they say, oh, this guy probably doesn't shower. Oh, this guy probably, has no hygiene. Oh, no. The reality is that the Torah actually says, take care of your body, take care of your mind, take care of your physical self and your mental self and your spiritual self. They're all tied up together, every facet of you. Take care. Respect the body, respect the mind, right? Okay. Hey, Jefferson wants to send me something on Instagram, so that's great. Great. I'll have to take a look at it after the stream, but Jefferson, thank you for actually taking it from the chat to the DM. And this is not to say that I wouldn't have it out in the chat, but the chat is more dynamic. But if you have me in the DMs, which he now does, then we'll have a proper one-on-one. Okay. Your sound is coming and going, man, says Akira Man. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. People. I don't know what's going on with the audio, but I think you're the only one who's saying that right now. So I don't know what to tell you. Another chance. Clip me. Okay, Joe Bart on top. Joe Bart on top. You ready with the clip? All right. Do you like Dixon Miaz? All right. And we'll do it once again, faster. Do you like Dixon My Eyes? And now, even slower. Do you like dicks in my eyes? Yes. Right? I got it right. Did you clip it? Perfect. Los Angeles ready to go. He's right with audio. What is going on with my audio? You know what? I'll try removing. Hang on a second. I'll try removing the cover. Maybe something is stuck in the mic. Give me a second. Maybe something is stuck in the mic. Forgive me if you have headphones on. Okay. Let's see. I don't know if that'll be better or not. What's your favorite prophet book? Probably Jonah. Probably Jonah. Because Jonah, according to tradition, was not raised to be a prophet. He did not belong to a school of prophecy and was not part of any group that was working together with prayer, dance, meditation, and ecstasy. He was just a regular run-of-the-mill guy who came to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, at the temple. And during the celebration of Sukkot at the temple, he became so overjoyed that the spirit of prophecy, boom, just came into him right then and there. And I think that's my favorite book because he didn't see it coming and he was afraid. And so he ran and he, swallowed up by the big fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And 3 days and 3 nights, 3 days, 3 days. And then the prayer that he utters, the prayer that he prays from the bowels of the beast that he is in is so moving to me. It's the prayer of the regular guy who just had a duty thrust upon him, who didn't know anything about anything, and suddenly he's expected to do something and maybe bit off more than he could chew. Maybe it's imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this? And then eventually he is able to get over it and go to Nineveh and tell them what they have to say, and they repent, and he is successful. And even in the success, the people of Nineveh, repenting, and what should have come to pass, or was supposed to come to pass, did not come to pass. And then Yonah still stays there, and he feels so bad, right? And then the tree comes up, and then it dies, and it's a whole thing. And then God tells him at the end, you were happy about a tree that was not here one night, and then gone the next, right? Sprang up and then wilted away. And that made you feel bad, right? And I'm not going to feel bad about taking out Nineveh? It's like, understand, Jonah. Try to understand your role in this and rejoice in it. But yeah, the book of Jonah. Probably the book of Jonah. Let's continue. Am Yisrael Chai, says Neria, the people of Israel live. Yes, indeed, Am Yisrael Chai. Really, guys, don't be a fool. Just listen to the media. Check Sahel TV or Street Smart Hebrew, Yoel says. Yeah, those are people. They're doing things that I'm not doing, obviously. Do you go to mikveh sometimes? I'm assuming that's what you wanted to say, Apo, although you didn't quite phrase it like that. Yes, yes, I do. Hold on a second. Let's see. How is the sound? Hang on, I'm gonna try and see. Nope, the sound is good. No, I'm not muted. That I know. Do you think he actually wasn't a fish, or is it a metaphor? Oh, it could go either way for me. It could go either way. It doesn't matter to me if it was or wasn't. The question is, what do I have to learn from it? But yeah, I'm inclined to believe either one is just as plausible to me, that he was swallowed up by a big fish, or that it's a metaphor, because all of these things work on different levels, right? We have the practical meaning and we have the esoteric meaning. Not to make fun, but there was a prophet named Bilam that hit a donkey and it spoke back. Yes, indeed. He hit the ass, right, 3 times. He spanked that ass. And then she spoke back to him. Why is it that you have hit me 3 times? Well, if I had a sword, I would kill you. And she's like, hey, I'm your ass. All right? We've been through thick and thin together. Have I ever put you in any kind of danger? It's like, no, you haven't. So, yes. Now, the prophet Bilam was the counterpart, the other side of the token of Moses. Where we had Moses, our master, the father of all prophets in the Hebrew people, there was Bilam, who was the counterpart of of um, of Moshe, of Moses. And the Torah portion of Balak, where Bilam makes an appearance, has one of my favorite verses in the entire Torah. Right? Right? When Bilam lifted up his eyes, the third time, the first 2 times he wanted to curse and he ended up blessing, but the third time he lifted up his eyes, he saw the entirety of the camp of Israel spread out in front of him, and the Spirit of God was upon him. And I love that verse. I do. Okay. Let us continue. What do you think? What do you know about the Dead Sea Scrolls? So the Dead Sea Scrolls, the scrolls of Qumran, are associated with the Essenes. The Essenes were a sect of Jews in the time of the Second Temple that when things really started to hit the fan, or before that, when they saw it coming, they took themselves out of Jerusalem and went and made camp in the Judean desert, only returning to Jerusalem 3 times a year for the pilgrimage, right, for the 3 pilgrimages, the Shalosh Regalim. Was Jesus an Essene? So I've been told by Christians, no, he wasn't. He was a Pharisee. He was one of the sages, one of Chazal. According to the Talmud, he was the student of Rabbi Hoshua ben Parachia. But it's still a dispute. It's a difference of opinion on whether or not this is the actual Yeshua Notzri, Jesus of Nazareth, or not. And it really does depend on how you go. You could say yes, you could say no. So the Essenes originally were Jews. They were a closed group. Some say that they took a Nazarite vow. Some say they took their own Essene vows. I know of an Essene Nazarite woman. I had a dialogue with her on this channel, Sarah Hayona Eisenman. She's awesome. Look it up if you want. We had a nice conversation. Okay. Yoel said, I am actually really sad that many in the world act like they are personally hurt by Palestine and they support terrorism and never talk about the other side. What happened? Yes, yes. Because people see Israel as Goliath and the poor, defenseless Palestinian people as David. And they don't actually acknowledge that the poor Palestinian population chose to be led by Hamas and the Palestinian Authority that are terrorist organizations. They don't actually ascribe any sort of agency. They infantilize the Palestinians as if they are poor, defenseless. No, they're not. They simply choose terrorism again and again and again and again, or support the leadership of terrorism again and again and again. And that they get what they elected. They elected Hamas, a terrorist group in Gaza. That is what they got. They chose, so to speak, to be run by the Palestinian Authority, who are also terrorists in suits who encourage terrorism and who reward financially the families of Shaheed terrorists who blow themselves up and murder Israelis. And with a tier system of the more people you kill, the more payout there is for your family, the larger the paycheck. They chose terrorists to lead them, and then the terrorists enact terrorism. The IDF, the defense forces of Israel, and Israel is fighting a defensive war against these regimes, they act because we must act, because we don't want all of our population to be slaughtered by warmongering, bloodthirsty religious extremist zealots, understandably so. And then they go, oh, the occupiers. Or maybe, how about you don't continue to attack Israel? How about you lay down your arms, surrender unconditionally, understand that Israel is here to stay, and try to actually make peace? And the road towards peace, as I see it, might have to be Israel finally having a decisive victory over these despicable regimes. Hopefully not, because that will involve a lot of death of innocent people too, and I'm not interested in that. It would be best if the terrorist organizations simply acknowledge their defeat, lay down their arms, surrender unconditionally, then we can de-radicalize both sides, and with that will come justice, and through that will come peace, and eventually love, God willing, that will cover all creation. But for the time being, when Israel has done so much for peace, and it has, the naysayers will say no, but they're just turning a blind eye to documented, verifiable fact and history, whether it's the propositions and deals and arrangements and agreements that Israel proposed and that were each and every one rejected by the Palestinian leadership, whether it's land that they gave back, like Sinai to Egypt, okay, the Temple Mount to Jordan, Gaza, we withdrew from Gaza in 2005, withdrew from southern Lebanon in the year 2000. Israel has made many concessions towards peace, and almost each and every time its hand was bitten off and its tuchus was shot by terrorists in response. You know who has peace with Israel? The ones over which there was a decisive victory and of which we received unconditional surrender. Egypt, Jordan, we were able to make peace with them. There are peace accords with Egypt and Jordan. Yes, they made the move. They had the balls, the major, big, hairy, sperm-filled balls, to say, yes, let's make peace with Israel. Maybe others should also sack up and take a look at their cojones and say, you know what, we should probably do what our balls tells us to do. Okay. The dented helmet says, do not engage with the Hasbara agent. That's me. It is pushing its Jewish agenda. Yes, I am, but I'm not pushing anything. I'm responding to people bringing things up in the chat. See, that's where you're a dimwit, because this channel was originally for discussions on faith and spirituality and religion and self-development and self-awareness. And it is you people, like you, the dented helmet, who make me into a Hasbara agent and a Jewish agenda pusher. So if you don't want me to push Jewish agenda, and if you don't want me to be a mouthpiece for Hasbara and Zionist propaganda, don't bring it up. I won't. Believe me. I won't do it of my own accord. I would love to stay away from politics, but it comes up here, so I address it. Only responds to bots will ignore 99% of all your questions, and your comments will disappear. Just refresh and see the truth. Well, first of all, never, ever do I delete comments. This is an individual, the dented helmet, that is speaking lies and falsehoods. People who are regulars in the chat, please spew it out in the chat. Has there ever been a mod? Have I ever banned? Did I ever put a timeout? Do I ever delete comments? They will tell you no, unequivocally no, I do not do that. They would tell you, did I talk of Zionist propaganda and Hasbara and Jewish agenda insofar as the state of Israel is concerned before it came at me in the chat? No, it did not, which makes the dented helmet full of different types of shit, which is commendable, because you'd think he'd only be able to hold his own shit inside at one time, yet he is able to do the improbable and take in different pieces of shit and just put them into his being and splort them out in the chat. But no, you are definitely wrong on all of those points. Only respond to bots. Only if I'm unaware. Do you actually think that there are bots in this little small channel that has only 80-something people watching right now? Incidentally, I do definitely acknowledge and enjoy, and I love each and every single one of you for participating and engaging, and I appreciate your time and your attention, the likes, the subs, the views, the comments, the chats. But if you go with what the dented helmet says, that means you don't know anything about the channel. Hey, fair enough, it might be your first time, which is why I told the regulars to do it. The thing is this. If there was any truth to what the dented helmet was saying, then YouTube would have its say. But it doesn't. And it's allowing me, even though there are people who report me for this or that, because it's crap and it's false reports, which only puts them, right? It sheds a bad light on them, not on me. I'm not doing anything that is against the YouTube guidelines. You people, on the other hand, are. And spreading falsehoods and misinformation and actual lies with the dented helmet, that only makes you seem like a terrorist sympathizer, an ignorant fool, somebody who must resort to lies and truth bending and falsehoods in order to prove whatever it is you think you are proving by telling the chat these lies. The thing is that truth will out, and that is where I have no problem. By all means, continue, spam this however much you want. However much you want. Call me a hasbara agent, call me a Jewish agenda pusher. It makes no difference to me what you think, because I know that what you are saying is blatant lies. I know this because I'm the one who actually runs this channel. And I have no problem telling you that you are full of different types of shit. Now, if you actually had an argument to make, if you actually had some sort of an assertion, something productive, something to move along the conversation, that's great. This is good too, but that would be great. So the dented helmet, I'm sorry, you are a liar. How does it feel? Feels good, doesn't it? Dented helmet, a self-hater. Yeah, I think so too, probably. What do your kids think about your ranting and raving with people on the internet? Must be real proud of you. Well, the teenager is a little embarrassed sometimes if he has friends over, and I've not done it. I've went, to a different room because I know teenagers are always embarrassed by their, kids are always embarrassed by their parents no matter what. So I could be the most, stiff upper lip, closed button-down shirt, wear a suit, and they would still be embarrassed by me. Clean cut, straight hair. As for the ranting and raving, I think they love it because they've told me so, and they have actually laughed out loud at certain things that I've said. So, if anything, I'm entertaining to them, as I hope I'm entertaining to you as well. That's part of this. People say that on the internet, you either need to be educating or entertaining. So, I wouldn't presume to be educating anyone. I'm not an educator. I'm simply having conversations with people, which puts me, by default, as an entertainer. And I did the one side, let's go for the other side. There. How entertaining is that? I smell you through my screen. All right, Mr. Mark, I'll see you through the screen and I'll raise you. Pretty good. Okay. Viewers can block spammers clicking on their picture, says Vigil. Hi, Vigil. Two Gun Kohan says, fuck Palestine, it never existed, name one leader. No, exactly. I mean, there are people living here in the place that Rome called Syria Palestina, for sure. They also have a claim to the land, for sure, historically, right? You can call them indigenous, I don't mind. But there was never such a nation as Palestine, never such a country, never such a state, never such a group, never such a nothing, ever. The Palestinian identity as a nation, as an ancient people, and all that bullshit is the result of the 1960s and the Soviet Union backing the PLO. The flag was invented then, the whole agenda and the whole history was invented then. That whole Jesus was Palestinian thing was invented then, which he was, right? The Romans called this place Syria Palestina. And it could very well be that that happened before, right? He lived at the year 30, so to speak. The temple was destroyed in the year 70. And I'm not sure when precisely they called it Syria Palestina. It could very well be that Jesus was Palestinian, because even though we called it Judea and the Holy Land, the Romans called it the province of Syria and Palestine. This dude is gross as fuck. Oh, dog she. You have no idea how gross I am. Oh, you sweet summer child. And I say that not in a condescending way, but in a way that really, you ain't seen nothing yet. They don't steal their organs, says Danielle. Hey, Danielle is still around. Look at that. I prefer Hasbara rules the world than as Barak. Rule it? As Barak? I don't know what you're talking about, man. APO. I'm not sure what you mean. What is the Palestine national identity? Yes, indeed, exactly. Ashkenazis are European, not Hebrew. Strong flower one. Yes, Ashkenaz is Eastern Europe and those lands. We were exiled there. Do you know the meaning of the word exile? It means to be kicked out of a place, right? So the Jews come from Judea. The kingdom of Judah was here where I sit right now. We were exiled to those places. So it all depends on the time frame through which you choose to view. What is the temporal lens through which you choose to view reality? Do you choose to view it from 20 years ago, 200 years ago, 2000, 20,000, 200,000 years ago? Where do you start the clock? If you start the clock 20 or 200 years ago, then yes, yes, the Jews come from Ashkenaz. They're European, not Hebrew. But if you go a little bit further back, there were Jews living here at the time of the temple, first and second, throughout the different exiles. A congregation was here, a presence persisted and existed in the Holy Land. So the Hebrew people, the 12 tribes of Israel, the lost right 10 tribes and the kingdom of Israel that was exiled by Ashur, by Assyria, right? That's that. But the kingdom of Judah has been around for many thousands of years. They are definitely Hebrew. Now, are there people who converted in Europe, becoming Ashkenazi Jewish converts? Yes. Are they 100% part of the Hebrew people? Yes. You seem to ascribe a geographical, right, some sort of spiritual or religious significance to the geographical location of the lands of Ashkenaz, and that is where you are mistaken. You are operating under the wrong paradigm. You seem to think that a person's geographical location denotes or bespeaks their affiliation with the Hebrew tribes. But that is a falsehood. According to Torah, according to oral Torah, according to halacha, it's simply not the case. Now, feel free to continue to believe that. If you want to have your biases confirmed and you want to think that Ashkenazis are not Hebrews, that's great. That's really, really great. But I can tell you, as someone whose ancestors came from Judea, then kicked into Ashkenaz, they made the pilgrimage to the voyage to the US and then the pilgrimage back to Israel, where I was born. That yes, even though I have some ancestry that hailed from Ashkenaz or from the US, their ancestors came from right here. And you are simply deciding to cut it off or start it at Europe. But there was a history before that that you are just blind, and you don't acknowledge, or you intentionally decide willfully, nope, that never existed, and so yeah. Let us continue. You have no legitimate claim. Really? I'm pretty sure being part of the Hebrew people makes me 100% Hebrew, which gives a claim historically, right, judiciously, religiously, spiritually, to being part of this land of Judea. Which means that, once again, so sorry, not sorry, you are 100% in the wrong. Once again, you can choose not to acknowledge that. That's all well and good. I'm not here to change your opinion or alter your views, right? I'm not here to sway your judgment one way or the next. I'm not a debater. I'm simply here having conversations with people. And the conversation I'm having with you right now is you're saying that European Jews are not Jews. And I say, no, no, it's right there in the name. Jews come from the kingdom of Judah. The kingdom of Judah is part of the 12 tribes that simply broke apart. Ashkenazis are not Semites. Listen, Shem, son of Noah, had a lot of kids, a lot of boys and a lot of girls. It makes no difference to me if Ashkenazis are not Semites. Literally doesn't make a lick of a difference. You know why? Because they are still Jews. You seem to be glossing right over that fact that people in Ashkenaz that are European by descent, that are originally European and are not of the kingdom of Judah, that you can make their claim about, let's say, that they are more Yefet and not Shem. However, Shem, right, and his grandson Evel, that is Abraham HaIvri, the Hebrew, Abraham, Avram the Hebrew, and we are the kingdom that came from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, 12 tribes, the people, the kingdom, the nation. And so historically down the line, there is an unbroken chain. Now, you can contest that and say, no, 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 the chain has been broken and you're all imposters. All right, let's grant that proposition and say we are all imposters that converted. Okay, so I'm a Hebrew man. Let's say I converted this morning. I'm still 100% a Hebrew man living in the Hebrew land, trying to follow the Hebrew Torah, keep the Hebrew commandments. So, where is it that your claim actually has a leg to stand on? I just told you where my leg is, several legs actually, whereas you have nothing but your contention. And what are you basing it on? You're basing it on Ashkenazis are not Semites. Okay, cool. Are they Jews? Are Ashkenazi Jews Jews? Yeah? Then they are Jews and they are part of the Hebrew people, even if they are of the sons of Ham or Yefet and not of the sons of Shin. That's it. That's the way that it goes down. So you feel free to yell from the rooftops and the mountaintops that Ashkenazis are not Semites, and it makes not even a little bit of a difference practically. It seems to be something that you would be holding onto in your mind to confirm your own misguided biases. And that's cool. I have sympathy for you, right? I do. Ashkenazis are not of the bloodline. Okay, again, let's grant that proposition and say that they are all converts. Okay, I went with it. Now you're just preaching to the choir. I understand what you said. I addressed everything that you said. That has nothing to do with anything because you can convert, and once you convert, your children are Jews and you are fused to the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, the 12 tribes of Israel. If you're a convert, you have no tribal affiliation. You are fused to the tribes. Once again, you're saying things that I'm agreeing with and still giving you the counter argument that's perfectly logical. Is Jiz Biz says, do you think when the scripture speaks of the restoration of Israel and Jerusalem, is that strictly geographical and the Jewish people, or is it also esoteric? It's all also esoteric. Because, it's the Jews are not meant to control the world. Not everybody is supposed to be Jewish. In Eden, there were no Jews and Gentiles. There were no religions. There was no state of Israel or people of Israel. It was just humanity, right? Made in the image of God. That is where we are heading back to. And so it will be a means to an end. It will be a means to an end. What's going on now with the state of Israel? What will continue to evolve, God willing. If we keep the covenant and the Torah and the commandments, we will prosper here. And if we don't, we might get exiled again by an enemy that will kick us out, and rightly so. And that's what the Torah says. You keep the covenant, you're able to prosper. You break the covenant remains. But you will be kicked out until you are able to re-accept that covenant and make the journey back. So it is practical and technical and geographical and esoteric. And there's wisdom to be gleaned from it as such. Gordo, hi Gordo. Hi Hebrew Nazarite, how are you? I'm doing pretty well. How are you? You notice the new Nazis come from the 4chan culture? It's expanded to entire internet from woke culture. They think are rebels, but it's old normie topic. Well, look, 4chan has known to do all kinds of things. I never frequented 4chan, but I know its reputation. As for woke culture, I'm not versed in it. I don't know it. I'm not a part of it. I don't really see it in everyday life, so I can't have anything to say about that either. Pardon me. As for people thinking they are rebels when it's just an old normie topic, maybe they're seeking to be subversive, maybe they are seeking to be the edgelord types, when they're in fact just, your run-of-the-mill dude who has a thought. I don't know. I really don't know. It seems you're making a really, broad categorization of 4chan culture as something that spawned new Nazis, but I disagree. I think neo-Nazism has been around way before 4chan. And I think what 4chan did, right, with something, with things like B and the whole B culture, is that they allowed these people, it gave them a place to congregate without being banned. But if I don't recall, at the time, 4chan had like a byline or a tagline that said that anybody who believes anything that's written here is a fool. Something like that. Okay, let's continue. Woke culture was created by Jews, says dude 12121. Okay, again, I don't know. People in the chat, There are about 60 of you here right now. Has the woke culture was it created by Jews? What is the evidence for that? I'm curious. Please address the problem of Khazarian converts, says Aussie Shiro. There is no problem. There was a kingdom called Khuzar or Khazaria, an empire or a kingdom, depending how you look at it. There is a repeatedly debunked Khazar theory that states that the Jews now are some sort of a fake Jew that is not real, that are just Khazarians, imposters. That has been debunked many times over. But what we do have, for instance, is the book of the Kuzari by Rabbi Yehuda Levi. And the book of the Kuzari, that's a book of philosophy constructed as a dialogue between the king of Kuzar and the Hebrew sage. And at the end of it, basically, the king of Kuzar converts his entire people. Now, like I said, the Torah allows conversion. And if we maintain that the Torah allows conversion, it means that if an entire kingdom or empire converts, they are entirely Jews now, 100% Jews, and their progeny is 100% Jewish by virtue of them converting. So, the problem of Khazarian converts is non-existent. There is no such problem. There is the hypothesis that, or theory, or fact, that there was a kingdom or empire of Khuzal, and they all converted to Judaism following their king who was a convert. Where is there a problem? Why is there a problem there? The Torah allows conversion. Halacha, rabbinic law, allows conversion. I fail to see a problem. And I don't go for the whole real Jew, fake Jew business. That's just, I think, a talking point for Jew haters to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a talking point for Jew haters mainly. The money changer scribes wrote, "Though shat not Jew, thy fellow shyster, but a non-scammer thou shalt fleece with impunity." Do you subscribe to that too? I have no idea what you're talking about, man. I really don't know what you're talking about. In the Torah, it says that you are allowed to charge interest on a loan from somebody who is not a Jew, right? The shy. And you're not allowed to charge interest on a loan to your fellow Jew. That is what it says in the Torah. That is also, I believe, halacha, rabbinic law. I don't know the ins and outs and the intricacies of the rabbinic law. There are many, many different clauses there, in different scenarios, when yes, when no. I do know that there is a halacha that permits two Jews, right, for one to take interest on a loan from the other if they are partners in a business. Because then that's not just a loan to a fellow dude or dudette, then it's you being business partners, meaning that you need to carry your weight and make a profit, right? And make it viable, have a viable business. And if in the contract between the partners there is interest stipulated, that is halachically permissible. And that is how Israeli banks do it, by the way, because I, for instance, have a mortgage and I pay interest on that mortgage. I'm a Jew. The person who gave me the loan is a Jew. According to strict Torah, written Torah, they should not be charging me. But halachically speaking, there is a business relationship between us, which is why they are allowed to charge me interest. That is how the bank makes its money. Kalergi plan, Jewish plan. Yes, dude, 12121. I've heard of this and of that book, the Manifesto in 1925. And from what I've gathered, the writings of 1925 and that manifesto have been truly warped, because that person there was venerating the Jews not in the sense of Jewish supremacy, not in the sense of Jewish superiority or dominance. And yet people took those writings from 1925 and they have warped them and perverted them to fit their Jew-hating agenda. But if Jews were supposed to take over the world, then we would not have given land for peace. If Jews were supposed to take over the world, we would not have agreed to the 1947 UN partition plan. If Jews were supposed to take over the world, we would want everybody to be Jewish, and we don't. There is no Jew domination. We don't want everyone to convert. Unlike Christians and Muslims who think that everybody should be under the banner of Jesus, everybody should be under the banner of Muhammad and Islam. No, we don't work that way at all. You do your thing, leave us to do our thing, and that's it, and we will come together at the end, right? We will join together at the root, eventually, through our own different branches. But I don't see. Yeah, oh, are there a lot of Jews in members of parliament and places of power, influence, industry, all of that? Yes, there are. And some people ascribe that to some sort of an intelligence, alleged intelligence that the Jew has. And some people say, no, 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 no. They are just very shifty. They're poisonous, and their tongue is full of honey, but they are actually conspiring against you. They're here to take over the world. It's a step by step program. It's a slow process. You'll see it as it unfolds. It's the frog that is boiling. That is in hot water, and you keep adding another degree until it's dead, but doesn't even know it. That whole thing. I don't see how that could be the case. I don't see how that could be the case. Not by the numbers. Not by the numbers. Because even though there are only, what, 14, 15 million Jews, you could say that the Jews are such a cabal, even though we fight amongst ourselves and have many factions and difference of opinions and not enough unity. But even so, you could make the argument that 14 million people could definitely control 8 billion people if they are in enough positions, key positions, right, of power and influence and wealth. I just don't see it that way. I don't. I might be wrong. Your mug is chipped. Yes, it is. I need to get a new mug. Thanks, Alex B. A couple of people told me that the head of the house should not be drinking with a chipped mug. But I love this mug a lot. Yes, I do. Let us continue. 50 million yet overrepresented in positions of power. Yes, that's what I'm saying, which is why when people say, I don't think it's an argument to say, what, we are only 15 million. It's like, yeah, but comparatively, there are many Jews in different positions. But again, people will hate Jews no matter what. They will hate them when they are in power, or they will hate them for being the subversive, rebellious element that is here to overthrow the administration. People will find any and every reason to hate the Jew. Speaking of which, let me do my happy merchant. Tenebris says high IQs. Yeah, so they say. I don't know how much I believe that. Hey, Asher is here. The audio's pretty funky. The volume comes up and down randomly. You know what? That's what I was told, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. Either way, it's good to see you. People, Asher Simone is a musician. He plays a mean guitar. Check out his channel. The microphone keeps going out. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Hang on a second. Let's try again. I don't know what's up. Hey, you know what? Could it be that my phone is going? It's a few years old. Maybe I need a new phone. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Should I stop? It's been almost 2 hours. I want to keep going. I want to keep going, but if it really is annoying, then tell me and I'll stop and I'll plug in the mic from I'll plug in the mic. Let's put it that way. Wait, am I able to use the YouTube app and the microphone? I don't think so. I don't think so, and I don't have a USB mic to plug into the phone. I need to get that. I do need to get one. Pardon me. We can hear it's just up and down. Okay, well, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Don't stop. Okay. All right, all right. Hey, BK Poli is here. Good to see you again, man. Danielle says Judaism is a religion. Yes, it's a religion. People say that it's an ethnicity. People say that it's a faith. People say that it's a culture. People say that people have all kinds of ideas. It's not unbearable. Okay, Asher. Then hopefully the next time around I'll be able to get to the source of it. Or maybe it actually is my phone and the microphone that's starting to go. I do not know. Lots of love. Thank you, Asher. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you again. Good to see you again. The audio isn't that bad. Slightly goes in and out. Robert says, "Well, I apologize for the audio. For the technical difficulties." What are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your free time? This is what I like to do in my free time. This is it. This is what I like to do. I mean, I play some guitar as well. Nothing short of a hobby. Just some chords. But no, this is what I like to do in my free time. I do. The free time that I have. Michael says, a Jew is someone who follows 613 commandments. If you don't follow 613 commandments, you are not a Jew. Yeah, you said this last time, and I disagreed. I disagreed with you because you, technically speaking, if you're born to a Jewish mother or you convert to the Hebrew faith, then even if you don't keep the commandments, you are irrevocably a Jew. But I understand what you're saying. Hey, Lord Pizza is in the house. If you hate Jews, then you should make an effort to get to know some. I've had only good experiences with them. Yeah, many people will disagree, but I appreciate the sentiment. Someone might actually be in your computer, maybe, dude, says Josh. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Gordo says, why Palestine still using shekels? They love the money, but not the real owners. Well, I mean, is that an argument? They don't have much of an economy, to the best of my knowledge, and so they don't have a currency. I mean, presumably they could use dinars, but I don't know. Jews don't burn children. No, we maybe used to, way back when. But no, we no longer do that. ABZ says they set up the Havra'at transfer agreement after failing to get Yor to migrate. Then they had the NZ put to slaughter the slightly righteous among you, as the rest can east. Check the NZ board games. I have no idea what you're talking about. But, yes, the Havra'at agreement of the early 1930s is where the Nazi regime's interests and the Zionist, modern-day Zionist enterprises' interests coincided and aligned. For a very brief and short period of time, the Nazis wanted the Jews out. The Zionist enterprise wanted the Jews in the Holy Land. And so for a very short time, there was a Havra'at agreement where people, German Jews, were transferred to the Holy Land. So yes, that indeed did happen. Do you live in Israel? Yes, I do. I'm in Jerusalem right now, Lord Pizza. Daniel said, you're doomed people. Yes, we are. We are doomed to keep the Torah, and we are doomed if we do not keep the Torah. So we're doomed if we do, and doomed if we don't. But there's one of those dooms that is more positive than the other. And the idea of keeping the Torah and the commandments and carrying the covenant forward and keeping to the traditions, that is what we are here to do. That is our mission here in the world. Again, it doesn't make us better. It doesn't make us superior. It doesn't make us greater or more knowledgeable or more wisdom or more anything. There's no holier than thou thing going on here. It's simply that this is what we were selected for. Other nations were selected for other things. So there you go. Have you ever had abondigas, the Mexican matzo ball soup? No, I have not, Omar, unfortunately. I do remember in How I Met Your Mother, there's a bit where Marshall goes, albondigas. This will be our little albondigas. So I did know that it's meatballs. Not matzo balls, but meatballs. So I don't know what Mexican matzo ball soup is. No, I don't. But since I don't eat matzo balls now because there's eggs in it, and I don't eat meat because it's animal meat, I probably will never have the pleasure of experiencing the culinary delights of the abondigas Mexican matzo ball soup. Guys, pitch in whatever you can towards the purchase of better sound equipment. So again, 100% of what comes here goes to charity after it ends up, right? After YouTube takes its cut. So I'm not going to take money to buy equipment. But I think I might invest a few shekels of my own in order to get better equipment, maybe a better phone, maybe a mic, a USB mic that I can plug in, one of those fuzzy things. Oh yeah, you know what? Here, I'll get my fake microphone. Yeah, I'll put it here. There we go. Is it better? There we go. Now this is what I'm talking about. Incidentally, I'm gonna have this is Broccoli Dude, by the way. We love Broccoli Dude. He is from Albertheim in the Netherlands. And Mr. Broccoli Dude and I are gonna do a skit, a short. Look forward to it. Not on this channel, on a different channel. Okay. Is Israel weed legal? If yes, I'm moving there. It is not 100% legal. It is decriminalized. Yes, a Bluetooth mic to clip to your shirt. Yes, I probably could, and I probably will. Robert Vanda says charity and a heart. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I probably will get a mic. I'd like to do that. My favorite meme, says Yoed, is when Family Guy, the father walks into a cake shop in Australia and says, look at all this cakes. I don't know that one. I watched a couple of seasons of the earlier seasons of Family Guy, and then I tuned out. But yeah, there's some funny bits. There are some funny bits on that show for sure. Let's continue. Selected by, I mean, we selected the Torah and the commandments, right? And we selected to have the Creator as our one Hebrew God. And in turn, we were selected by the Creator, much like other nations were selected to carry out their mission and fulfill their task by the Creator or by whatever deity it is that they follow. Uh, Kepramancer. Kepramancer. Almost like the necromancer. Have you ever considered dyeing your beard? No, Daniel Deutsch, I have not. Should I? Do you like psytrance music? No, not really. Not really. Yeah, Broccoli Mike, that's right. ABZ said, you know, the wicked beast of end times is a money changer system that pushes people into digital currency by incentivizing them to take the chip. I did not know that. How is that the beast of end times? I'm curious. Give me the progression here. So we start off with a chip, it goes to digital currency, and where do you see it veer off to be wicked, beastly ways? At some point, it will veer off from something that makes some sense, presumably, to something that makes like totally no sense, and that it's simply wicked, beastly ways. Or will it be so subtle and so nuanced that we won't even see that it's happening? I'm curious, where do you see it? Or how do you see it panning out? So self-selected, there's no evidence of Yahweh. Yes, if you want to say that, for sure, self-selected, but self-selected to take on a burden of Torah and commandments, and I still do maintain that there is no Jewish supremacy here. It's not a question of supremacy, superiority, being better, being higher, being nobler, being holier. None of that applies whatsoever. Whatsoever. So, at least on my end, anyway. So, no, there is no evidence. I cannot give you proof. I cannot give you evidence. This is the tradition that we receive. This is the Hebrew way. This is the Hebrew path. Others have their own way, their own tradition, their own customs, their own way. You see what I'm saying? So, Mansur, feel free to disagree. That's all well and good. That's part of what this channel is about, right? But I think in the very same way that the founding fathers of the United States selected themselves to go against the crown and establish the first colonies, right? And then declare independence. In the very same way, you can say, without anything to do with God, we selected ourselves, pulled ourselves out of the Canaanite tribal equation, and decided to worship one Hebrew God in the land of Canaan, and later on fought the non believers, let's say, or the polytheists, and had the one Hebrew God reign in the land. If you want to look at it that way, you could look at it that way as well. It veers off, says ABZ, and exalts itself above all that is God, and seekers to stand on the holy mount from where it was expelled. I'm not sure exactly at what point, this is highly subjective though, at what point would you say that it positions itself above God? We have the great Nietzschean quote, right, of God is dead and we killed him and we won't be able to wash away the blood, right? Something along those lines. So where do you see that? Subbed, says Robert, knowledge is power, communication is key. Yes, communication is key. That's why I wanted to make this channel. Well, that and the fact that I saw no Hebrew Nazarites on YouTube, even though I did discover a couple on YouTube, one of which I went to yeshiva with, and we both took the Samson Nazarite vow, not knowing of the other one who did the same thing. He took it a few years after I took mine, which is very curious. The idea that there are two Samson Nazarites from the same yeshiva who studied there at the same time, the odds of that are really, really astronomical considering the number of Nazarites that there are, which is not many. I dye mine, takes years off your age. Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind my beard. I don't mind the way that I look. I really don't mind. I think that I look my age. I am 43 years old. I think I look pretty much 43, right? Where I've got a few lines here and I've got some gray or white here and I've got these lines over here. I don't mind. It's all good. I've got a few around the eyes, the laugh lines, so I'm very good with that. I never considered dyeing my hair or my beard because I want it to grow naturally, wild, free, organically. So I have nothing against those who do dye their beard or their hair for that matter. Taylor says, "Do multiple gods exist?" Yes, they do. They're simply not the gods of the Hebrew people, right? We have one God. They each have their own afterlife kingdom. I do not know anything about that. Egyptian gods are shown to be real in the book of Exodus, since the Egyptian sorcerers did what Moses. Yes, exactly. They are real. We are simply commanded to forsake them and not worship them and not use their worship in service of the Hebrew God. That's it. No, no, you look 33. Okay. I don't think I want to take 10 years off of my age. I think I'm I think I want to age naturally, hopefully with some grace. Lord knows if I'll be able to pull that off. None of you are Jews, says Danielle. You know, Danielle, at this point, I think you are really simply speaking to yourself, trying to convince yourself of your thoughts, literally preaching to yourself. But okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are many people in this chat right now, just about 50 people, who are hanging on your every word and drinking it all in. I don't know. The beast, I don't know what this username is. The beast of the end times is the Messiah who waiting the Jews. No, I don't think that is true because there is no prerequisite of kingship. I mean, if a king does come to pass, and if a king is crowned and anointed, then that's cool. The thing is that how is it that the beast of end time is the Messiah? Because you can have many messiahs from many different tribes who will sit on the throne and who will live and die like all of the kings before them. How is this that the Messiah, even if we grant the idea of the final Messiah of the house of David, the line of. Hang on. I glitched. I'm live. I think I'm live. I think I glitched, and now I think I'm live. Point is, hang on a second. Am I glitching? Am I live? What's going on? People, can you hear me? Can you see me? I don't know. Glitches and live. Okay, so I glitched and now I'm live. Hang on a second.
Doing obviously.
Okay. Wait. I need to check this out. Yeah, we see. Okay, cool. Okay, we're good. Where were we? I was talking about Danielle, but someone said something else. I don't know. Daniel Deutsch says, "Do you believe in alternate universes?" Yes, I do. I believe we are a multiverse of multiverses. That is what I believe. Manser says, "Do you believe that whatever a people believe is true?" No, I don't think it has to do with truth. You could ascribe truth to it, sure, but I don't believe that it is any more true than anything else that people believe, and that people will believe whatever they want to believe and back it up with whatever they want to back it up to confirm their own biases or confirm what they truly want to believe is true. I don't know what to tell you. The only absolute, right, is the Most High God. Everything else, I think, is painfully subjective. And there is some amounts of objectivity, but there's also a lot of relativism. And I don't know where the lines go. It goes on a case by case basis. Solitaire says voice is a bit low now. So yeah, you know what? I don't know what's going on. You know, maybe I'll just go out today. Maybe I will go out today. And I no, I think I'll wait a week for my paycheck to come in. And then I will and then I'll get a Bluetooth mic. You're speaking a conditioning language that was created 150 years ago to fool you into thinking you're from Palestine. Well, Danielle, there's so many things wrong with that sentence. First of all, it was not created 150 years ago. Hebrew has always been used in liturgy, blessings, rituals, Torah, study, prayer. Conversationally, it was halted. Conversationally, it's true. It was the sacred tongue, Lashon HaKodesh, and only in the beginning, late 19th, early 20th century, Eliezer ben Yehuda and his contemporaries, but he was definitely the first, acknowledged one anyway, historically, to use Hebrew once again conversationally, and he resuscitated the language to be conversational, to be the common tongue, to be the lingua franca in Israel. But it was indeed created at the very creation of the universe and of all existence, material and spiritual alike. It is said in the Hebrew traditions that it was Hebrew that the divine revelation of speech uttered, the 10 utterances of Bereshit, the 10 utterances of creation, the account of creation in Genesis, conducted and carried out by divine speech in Hebrew. So the revelation originally was in Hebrew, and the Hebrew still permeates all of creation, sustaining it with its spiritual energy of the letters. And what was created 150 years ago are different words that were made either brand new or borrowed from other languages and inserted into the newfound Hebrew lexicon. But it wasn't created 150 years ago. It was resuscitated after being conversationally dead. But liturgically, as far as ritual, as far as study, as far as prayers, blessings, graces, everything to do with the Hebrew faith and halacha, Hebrew was alive and well. So you're kind of mistaken about that. As for fool you into thinking you're from Palestine, yes, I am a Hebrew, a Jew. Jews come from Judea. Rome called Judea the province of Syria and Palestine. So it's not me fooling myself into thinking anything. I'm speaking a language that was resuscitated on a land that was my ancestors' home. I'm not a fool in any one of those other things. In other things, I am a fool. In these few things, I am not being a fool. There you go. Okay, it has been almost 2 hours. Should I keep going? Should I keep going? Yeah, let's keep going a bit more. Larry Bird, hi man. Who does the third temple belong to? To the Creator. The third temple, God willing, will be a house of love and prayer and worship for all nations, all earthlings, a vegan house of vegan rituals. And I'm not even of the opinion that we need the third temple. We can bypass the middleman of the building and the priestly duties and the Levitical choir and the Israelites fasting and the sacrificial offerings, animal, vegetarian. We can bypass all of that. Consider Eden. In Eden, there was no temple. In Eden, there were no offerings. In Eden, there was no Jew or Gentile. And we are meant to go back to Eden. That's the way I see it, right? And to partake of the fruit of the tree of life. Hey, IJ is here. How you doing? All beings have souls, not only Jews. I concur, Michael. All beings have souls. The thing is that you have a life force that's more minimal in an animal, let's say, more on instinct, right? Stimulus response. Of course, you have over there a spectrum as well and a tier, right? A hierarchy of. But then you have more of a divine soul, a higher place from whence came that life force that is pulsing right inside of us. And that is why the human being is different than the animal, although the human being is also a mammal and an animal. The Torah is very clear. It's very uncomplicated. Danielle, it is clear. Some things I would think do require more interpretation, more contemplation, more extrapolation. But the Torah is clear in the sense that it's written in Hebrew and that it is relatively clear to understand. It's not as easy to follow, but it's clear to understand. That much is true. Biggest Jeffrey, are you indeed the biggest? Are you trans? Yes, I am. I am gay. I am straight. I am bisexual. I'm trans. I'm a two-spirit coffee mug, and I don't know, a few other things too. Solaire of the East says, I have talked to a couple of Jews and they said they don't mind Jesus. No, I don't mind Jesus either. I just don't consider him to be God. Now, my question is, do you think the status of Judaism would have been a lot different if Christianity didn't take off? I mean, likely, but no, the status? No, I think the status would have remained the same. I think the status would have remained the same. Uh, Maybe we would have less pogroms, less persecution, less annihilation, less inquisition. But overall, I think the status would be the same. Though, yeah, I mean, overall the same. Yeah, I think so, but I have no idea. I really don't. Shreya says, how do we get to know before when you will be streaming next online. I mean, you can hit the subscribe notification and what is it? Not personalized, but all notifications. That's it. You hit subscribe and all notifications on the bell. That is how. Incidentally, I do indeed truly appreciate the likes and the subs and the views and the comments and the chats and the DMs. I truly do. What your opinion and your feelings for Germans? I have no feelings one way or another. I think they underwent a magnificent transformation from being a Nazi Germany, right, in World War II and afterwards, after they were de-radicalized, and they're part of the Union now, and they have a wonderful industry and their economy seems to be pretty good, right, and working very well. So my feelings and my opinions on Germans, I have no feelings or opinions on Germans one way or the other. I think they are a stand-up people. From what I hear, they are very um, that they hold a lot of good traits. That's what I know. And I know that Germany is one of the first nations in Europe to not consider themselves religious, like in a major way, that the majority of the people do not categorize themselves as Christian, whereas Europe was almost entirely Christian and nations were built right on Christianity. And now I think Germany is one of the first, or one of the only, or one, I don't remember, where the majority of the population no longer are affiliated, no longer define themselves, no longer have that affinity with Christianity. I think, anyway. Not John Smith. Shalom, Shawty. Hey, what's up, man? Kunal. Hi, Kunal. Absalom a fraud. If you say so. If you say so. You're not Jewish, says Danielle. Yeah, okay. You go ahead and think that. Xavier says, can I ask a question? Yes, you can. We all know Jacob made a vow to Adonai after the vision of the ladder. But why does the angel of the Lord say it was him Jacob made the vow to? Because the angel is a representative of Adonai. That's why. Gordo says, hey, Heap, I don't think Jesus ever existed. What do you think? It could go either way. I don't mind if he existed or did not exist. There's a very good chance he did. He seemed like a well-designed archetype created by Rome, a plagiarism of Horace, Pythagoras, Jesus, and the Baptist copy of Elijah, Elisha could very well be. I don't mind if people in the Bible didn't exist either, and if it's all allegorical, because eventually the question is, and now what? Now what? Right? That's the question. What do I take from these ancient texts? What do I take from these traditions, these customs, these ways, these books and words that I've been handed down throughout the generations? What is it that I'm doing with them? Am I using them? Am I taking advantage of them? Do I find faith in them? Do I find wisdom in them? Do I learn how to behave? Do I learn what to do? Can I read these things and get to know my place in the world? The answer is yes, definitely yes. And it doesn't mean you need to believe that these are historically accurate, scientifically correct. None of that. It's simply a question of the books that we received, the tradition handed down, for us to learn and remember and move forward. Moving forward, right? Chadesh yamenu kekedem. Renew our days as of old. Robert Vanda says, dude, don't badmouth Keanu Reeves. Okay, I'll try not to. He's a good guy. Neve says Jews always lived in Tiberia, Tzfat, Hebron, Yerushalayim. Thousands of books written in those cities for thousands of years. Yes, yes, it's true. And not just the holy cities either. But yes, those are the four holy cities corresponding to the four elements. Right? Tzfat is wind, and Tiberias is water, and Jerusalem is fire, and Hebron is stone. And those correspond to the four-letter name of God, to the Yod He Vav He, and to the four winds. He is a man of focus, sheer will. Oh man, I love that. I was told you struck my son. Yes, sir, I did. May I ask why? Yeah, well, he stole John Wick's car, sir, and killed his dog. Oh, beep. What a great, as a screenwriter, right? I'm saying that is, and as a movie, and somebody who enjoys a good movie, the way they introduce John Wick is brilliant. Brilliant! I love it. I truly do love it.
I seriously would love to see Egypt Museum. Which one? I'm sure there are many museums there. Who's in the burning bush, Yod He Vav He, or the angel of the Lord? So, Xavier, I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. The revelation of the burning bush was called Ehyeh, Aleph He Yod He. And I have a whole video on the name Ehyeh and the way it pertains to Yod He Vav He. So look that up if you want. And who's in the burning bush? The divine revelation manifesting to Moses as the burning bush. That is who is there. Divine revelation. That's it. That's all that is ever spoken of in the Torah is not God. It's revelations of God, emanations of God, the clothing, the garments through which God is revealed in the world. In the very same way that I am here coming at you live from Jerusalem, I'm sitting here in my home. The projection that you're seeing is a digital projection of zeros and ones, right? That is a revelation, a digital projection of my actual physical self. But even my actual physical self is but a projection of things that are internal. And you have things covering me, right? Things like my glasses, things like my shirt that are covering me. And even then, it's all that it's covering is the skin. There's also beneath the skin. And so you can discern certain things and you can learn certain things about who I am as a person through this digital projection of pixels and zeros and ones. But there are things that even you don't know, and there are some things that even I don't know. I right now have things running on automatic. I don't know, right? I don't exactly know how fast I'm breathing right now, or what my heart rate is, or what my spleen, or my liver, or my kidneys are doing right now. I don't have to consider and focus that I need to work on my digestion right now. They are on autopilot, right? And we have the systems that are in place in order for me to carry out life. And all of these things are things you can perceive, and yet it is not me. And it's not you either, because right now I'm speaking to you, and presumably you're watching this on a screen now or later at some point, or listening with headphones while you're falling asleep. I've been told people do that too. They find my voice calming. At any rate, the person that you are, that's not even you either, right? And you're here in a meat suit, and that which is perceiving the words that I'm trying to convey to you, and that which is comprehending the language that I speak, that is closer to being you. That is the mind, the self, and even that is not the soul. So it's a whole thing. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So when you say who is in the burning bush, I will say it's the divine revelation revealed to Moses as the burning bush in the name of Ehyeh. And later, Moses says it's Yod He Vav He. Lloyd Pizza says, I had that realization on an acid trip once. It's been a while since I've done acid. I should do it again sometime soon. And as always, test your drugs. Set and setting are paramount. Engage in harm reduction practices. And, respect your body, respect the mind, respect the substance, be it synthetic or organic. Let us continue. Cap says dogs poop on north to south according to magnetic fields. How about that? Venereal disease was the burning bush. How about that? Yes, that's pretty good. Now imagine dogs pooping while suffering from venereal disease. Unpleasant. Unpleasant. Jews have no empathy for Gentiles, says Michael. That is making such a broad generalization. Seems kind of bigoted and racist of you. Are there individual Jews that have no empathy for Gentiles? Sure. As a group, as a whole, I don't think that's the case at all. I don't know. Dude from Belgium. Hi, dude. Are we just symbolic, just like the burning bush? No. The burning bush had the divine revelation inside of it. We also have the divine revelation inside of us. That is why we were created in the image of God, of the 10 sfirot. Our body corresponds to the blueprint of creation known as the tree of life, or the 10 sfirot, the 10 emanations of the Kabbalah. And we are not symbolic. We are the living, breathing, walking, talking, thinking, spewing, pooping, pissing, ejaculating divine revelation. That is the divine revelation that is a co-creator, made in the image of God. We are not God, but we have certain divine properties, if you will, insofar as we can make manifest the revelation and the image in which we were created. A person, to each his and her own, can choose to, nope, I'm not going to elevate those higher parts of me. I'm not going to elevate the lower parts of me. I will leave my base instincts and whims and desires, and wants at their base level and simply try to satiate those as time goes on, gratify impulsive desires, and so on. Like I said, to each his own. But if you are interested in making manifest who you truly are and maximizing that potential and bringing to the foreground the image of God in which you were uniquely created, then it behooves you to do what you can to make it manifest and to emulate those divine revelations in the Torah, right? For the Jews, it's the Torah and the commandments, and for other nations, it's through other means, that they might be the true human being, the thinking man, right? Homo habil, not just Homo sapien, right? Homo habil, the creating man. Let's see. Ah. Can a Jew get a tattoo? So, according to the Torah, you're not allowed to tattoo yourself. And some people say that you may get a tattoo because it's in context. The context of the prohibition against tattooing in the book of Leviticus is when there are a few other things that say that because the Gentiles, because the nations act in this way, you are prohibited from acting in such ways. Anything from the way that they mourn, to the way that they worship, to the food that they eat, to how they treat each other and the land that they are on, we are told to segregate ourselves and separate ourselves from the ways of the nations that were here before Joshua and the Israelite army took it over. So, halachically speaking, an Orthodox Jew would say you're not allowed to get a tattoo. There are those who don't think quite like the halacha and who say, no, 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 it used to be the ways of the Gentiles, but now it's so common practice, right? And it's so ubiquitous that there's no prohibition against it because now it's simply getting a tattoo and not emulating the ways of the nations. But according to halacha, a tattoo is not allowed. There's also this grave misconception that a Jew with a tattoo cannot be buried in a Jewish graveyard, or a cemetery, which is not true either. You're definitely allowed. What music do you dig? Says Daniel Deutsch. I mean, Pink Floyd and Radiohead are my two great loves in music. I listen to classic rock, progressive rock, some alternative rock. I enjoy, psychedelic stuff as well. But yeah, 60s, 70s, things from the 90s as well. And uh, that's pretty much it. I mean, I enjoy other things too. I love classical music. I know what I like. I'm not a maven, I'm not a buff, but I like Bach and I like Beethoven and I like certain things that Strauss did and Stravinsky as well, um, and others. Tchaikovsky, I love Tchaikovsky. Let us continue. If you want to experience hate, go to Jerusalem. I don't think so. I think you can experience hate in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of places. I saw divine revelations on mushrooms trip. Next I want is a truly religious experience, maybe going to Jerusalem. So what I say, Gordo, is that the bulk of a person's divine revelations, let's say, and psychedelic experiences should come from the inside and not from the outside, right? Through prayer, through meditation, through fasting, through carrying out the Torah and the commandments, through religious ecstatic dance, and through basically living life righteously and humbly, you will be able to reveal more of you to yourself. And that is literally what psychedelic means: mind revealing or mind expanding, self revealing, self expanding. The psychedelic properties of these agents, be they organic or synthetic, you can definitely use them as supplementation, but then you must integrate the experience. But be it a trip on a mushroom or, MDMA, LSD, DMT, whatever the case may be, it's important to have a proper set and setting and to create that vessel. And it's important to integrate the experience into your life to the degree that you can afford to do that. Also, as always, test your drugs and be smart, right? Respect the herb, respect the substance, respect the mushroom, respect Lucy, respect Mandy, respect Molly, respect Sally, and your body and your mind. And the bulk of one's psychedelic experiences should come from the inside and not from the outside. Hey, I've seen Radiohead live twice, says Tenebris, one of my favorite bands. Yeah, I saw them when they were in Parque Yalcon. I was a few meters away from them. I was a few meters away. I was looking Tom York in the eyes. and he was looking right back. What an experience. It was great. It was really, really great. I was able to get there early, and I was able to run to the stage, and I was just a few meters, literally a few, I don't know, 10 feet away from them or less. Really, really great. You handle the trolls and haters very well, says Shocky. Thank you. I mean, look, they're just trolls. They're just haters. It's all good. I enjoy their participation. It's good for me. It's good for them because they get to spew out their toxic bile. So yeah, it's all good. Yeah, yeah, and they gave their longest show in like 14 years. It was really, really great. Truly, a great experience. Kunal says, "Don't you get strange reactions or rude behavior from people due to your hair?" Very, very occasionally. I mean, what do you mean, like on the street? No, who's gonna say anything to me? Um, Occasionally, very occasionally, like once every few years, someone says something and I go, okay, cool. And whatever it is that they want to say, I either correct them if they're mistaken, uh, or or I go, okay. It's like they can say whatever they want. In Rainbows and Kid A are in my top 5 albums of all times. Yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, when I was in yeshiva in the year 2000 and Kid A came out, and somebody else had purchased it and he put it on his speaker in his room, and when those opening notes of Everything in Its Right Place came on, my mind, my soul, my heart, my ears were like a dog whistle, like, whoa, what was that? What's going on there? Whoa, what is that? It's like it really, really caught me in my like grabbed my sack and pulled hard, but in a very pleasurable sort of way. And In Rainbows came out in 2008, where I was in a very low point in life, wanting to be a writer, but not writing anything, having things to send out from previous years, but not sending anything out, feeling insecure, working a minimum wage, dead end job as a security guard on a construction site, um, you know, breathing in construction dust all day long, having to deal with so and when In Rainbows came out and I heard arpeggio weird fishes, and the last line of that song is I hit the bottom and escape. It's like, yeah, I was at a that really sustained me. That album In Rainbows truly sustained me, and that song more particularly, even though the entire album is great, but Weird Fishes arpeggio, I hit the bottom and escape. That's a song about tshuva. In the deepest ocean, bottom of the sea, your eyes, they turn me. Yeah, yeah. Everybody leaves if they get a chance, and this is my chance. So I don't get much rude behavior now. Does your mum greet you with scissors? No, Daniel Deutsch. My mother has long since given up on me cutting my hair. She's actually a hippy dippy mom, so she digs the long hair. Kunal says, bro fell off from 200 to 50. No, it's not a question of falling off. Sometimes YouTube sends a bunch of people my way, and sometimes it maintains, a more steady thing. I mean, I used to get 0. I used to get 1. I used to get 10. And now I get thousands of views on every video that I put out. I mean, when I was going through a surge and YouTube was bringing hundreds and thousands of people more so, at my peak, I had a video that had 43,000 views, like a 2-hour live stream, and over 1,000 people watching at the same time. And YouTube did that for a while, and then it plateaued. But right now, the baseline is much higher than it used to be. And if the YouTube algorithm grants me and graces me with another surge, and that might happen because it happens every now and then that there's a surge, then God willing, I will be in a better place for more people. Now, the majority of the people who tune into this channel is from shorts. That's what the analytics tell me. 90 something percent of the people are just swiping and they come across my ugly face and they go, "Boo, what is that?" And they swipe away. But there are some people who actually stick around and they become viewers, and they become part of this little community that we have made here, that we have built here. Incidentally, just yesterday I posted somebody who shall remain anonymous because I know they have some issues. So I posted it anonymously, and they wrote to me and they said, in regards to this community, that they had like fake friends, that people were making fun of them, and they said, for the first time, I'm part of something and not apart from something. And I thought that's a great line. I find you swiping every time, says Robbie. Yeah, there you go. Kunal says thoughts on Yahweh taking human form. So it was for the Hebrews. It's not Yahweh taking human form. It's divine revelation taking human form, and angels, demons, whatever the case may be. So the human form is not of God. It's a revelation of God coming in human form. As for Yahweh, actually, Yodevavhe, taking human form, maybe for other nations there could be a God incarnate. For the Hebrew people, there is no God in flesh. Unequivocally, no. No such thing. No such tradition. No such custom. No such path. No such way. No such proof. No such evidence. No such verses. Nothing. Moses reminds the people of Israel again and again, remember, you saw no image. You heard the revelation of a voice from that great fire at Sinai. You saw no image. Don't make the mistake of thinking you did, because then this whole thing will become all broken up. Don't do it. So, for the Hebrews, there is no image. There is no divine revelation in flesh, in the sense of God in the flesh. There is revelation as angels that receive human-like garments when they are in the physical world and need to interact with physical folk like you and I. And so they wear angelic clothing. They can or they don't have to, depending on the nature of the visit. And there are times when the prophets in their mind's eye or with their eyes wide open saw these angelic revelations like Isaiah, like Ezekiel, who could describe to you what those angels looked like. The 10 different choirs of angels, some of them are closer. It's a hierarchy, right? And some of them are closer, some of them are further away. But when they do show up, usually in this world, they are clothed in angelic garments. Angels clothed in human garments. So, yes. Lord Pizza says, do you think the Native Americans were onto something with the whole Great Spirit thing? Yes, indubitably. Yes, indeed. Because there is something that connects me and every other living thing in the organism of the multiverse of multiverses, right? We are the universe asking itself why. Everything in creation, the blueprint is the 10 sfirot. And the thing that actually is the thread that threads the 10 sfirot together is the divine emanation of let's say, divine light. There are 10 sfirot of atzmut, of essence, and there are 10 sfirot of kelim, of vessels. And within that paradigm, within that framework, the thing that is, right, imagine this. Imagine light, pure white light, okay? When it passes through a prism or through a raindrop, it breaks up into its constituent colors and the spectrum that we can perceive. And if we were able to perceive beyond that, we would also see the ultraviolet and the infrared and everything else on the spectrum. But we have our own biological limitations, and so without any apparatuses, that's what we can perceive, the 7 colors of the rainbow. So we have 7 colors, but that's actually simply broken light. A single thing broken up into its constituents. In the very same way, the Great Spirit you can think of as the origin of that light. Not the light itself, let's say, but the origin of that light, or the light itself, depending on how you look at it. And that is broken up into the way that that spirit is made manifest and expressed in the physical world and in the spiritual realms. But essentially, it's all just one thing that appears to us because of the lens through which we view reality, the raindrop, the prism in which we live and that we inhabit. So it seems to us all broken up. So this looks like a phone to me, and this looks like a mug, and this looks like a mouse, and this looks like broccoli. But these are all made up of atoms. These are all material things. The words I am saying are just vibrations in the air. The audio equipment and the speaker or headphones that you are listening to these words on right now, these are vibrations that are coming in that are being interpreted by your brain. But in essence, we are all one organism, one huge organic thing called creation. And we over here are flying on an organic spaceship we called Earth. right? And it's not static. It's always in motion. It's always moving. We are moving even right now around ourselves and around the sun and the whole solar system in its arm on the Milky Way, twisting and turning and hurling through the universe. And yet at the same time, here I am, seemingly immobile, because it's the way that we through which we view the world, right? And we act in such ways because of how we view this broken light. And so the great spirit is definitely in existence. What do you do with it? What do you do about it? How do you relate to it? Dylan says round, round, round. Sure, sure, there's nothing wrong with being round. But if you're getting too round, take care of yourself, huh? Respect your body. Kunal says, bro, what about my suggestion to stop answering Palestine-related questions? I'm still considering it. I'm still thinking it over. Still thinking it over. Also, I mean, it wasn't precisely your suggestion. It was your suggestion because of the poll that I put up. In the actual poll, not that it would have been a problem if you would have suggested it from out of the blue. It's a good thing to suggest, because this channel is not supposed to be a political channel. It's not supposed to be a channel of apologetics for the state of Israel. That's not what I'm about at all. Let's continue. Deutsch says, I read a Kabbalistic book by Dion Fortune. Would you rate her as an authority? I don't know who that is or what the book is, so I have no idea. Pardon me. Where is your small hat? I have no small hat. I am a Nazarite snitch hunt, and the Nazarite has a hair of consecration, a hair of separation, the crown of the Nazarite-ship on his or her head, so I do not wear a small hat. But if you want, here, I'll wear a small hand towel. There you go. Here's my little hat. I have a little list. I have a little list. Lord Pizza says, very nice way to put it. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, these are all things that come from Pardes Rimonim, right? The Ramak, Pardes Rimonim. Pardes Rimonim. Yarmulke. Yes, yarmulke is yarmulke. Yarmulke means yarmulya, which is yare mulya, which is fearful before God, or in awe before God. That is what yarmulke or yarmulke actually means. Were you a chatty security guard, or did you stand your ground? No, I was at the time when I was working security at that construction site. The construction was still ongoing, but there were some people to whom their apartments were already done, and so they had their residence. That was simply where they lived. And I was there working the electric arm that let people in and out. So we had residents who were already occupying their apartments that were finished, and we had construction workers and construction vehicles still coming in all the time. But I was in charge of the parking lot where certain construction vehicles were. Anyway, yeah, the arm, the electric arm. That's what I was in charge of there. You can go to Hebron with this on your head. Yeah, I just might be able to do that. I made it just in time, says D2. Is it D2 or O2? It's D2. Hi, D2. Hebrew means Hebrews. Yes, indeed. What's your interpretation of Jacob wrestling with God? That it was an angelic revelation, the spiritual counterpart of Esau. That is not my interpretation. That is the traditional Hebrew way of looking at it, insofar as the Orthodox version is concerned. That it says, right, "Vayivater Yaakov levado vayavek ish imo." Ish does not mean God. Gordo says, I like to believe the earth is flat. In fact, I've found support for this in the Torah and the concept of the domed sky. And I don't believe in NASA founded by Nazis. All right, all right. I mean, like I said, physically the earth is a sphere. It's a globe, right? It's a spherical circle thing. But conceptually speaking, it has four corners, right? Corresponding to the four winds and to the four-letter name of God and the four elements that make up creation. So it's both, really. Conceptually, it's flat, if you will. But practically, it's a sphere. What are your views on the Reformed branch of Judaism? Don't you think unwavering faith is the most important tenet of Judaism? So I don't know enough about the Reformed branch of Judaism. I know it's a few hundred years old, and I know that it came from a good place of wanting halacha to get up to speed with the way that reality and civilization was progressing. And there is nothing wrong with that inherently. The question is, what is it that you keep, right? It's progression versus preservation. And the Hebrew faith went into survival mode at the destruction of the temple and the Edomic exile. And because we went into survival mode, many things were lost, not least of which was the temple, that accounts for more than half of the commandments. But things were lost, traditions were lost, other things had to be adapted to live in an exilic, Orthodox, rabbinic, Jewish paradigm, as opposed to a temple worshiping, priestly, service, Levitical choir, Israelites fasting paradigm. The Reformed branch basically said we need to keep going on with the times. Halacha was never meant to be stuck in the past. It was meant to progress. It was never even meant to be written down. It was written down out of necessity, out of destruction, exile, woe, and tragedy. And that's exactly right. But then the question is, what is it that you will sacrifice, right? What do you sacrifice? What are you supposed to do when you have these traditions, you have these ways, you have this path? What is it that you are supposed to do? Are you supposed to just let it all go and start from scratch? What is it that you keep? What is it that you adapt? What is it that you completely change? What is it that you bring up to speed? And what is it that you stick to and hold to as in days of old? The reforms and conservatives and others, right? Reconstructionist Judaism and others. I know there are a few other sects. Unwavering faith is not a commandment. There is no commandment to have faith. There is no commandment to believe. The Torah, right, is a Torah of action. It's a Torah of doing. Faith is not a prerequisite. It helps you, of course, but it's not a prerequisite. You can have no faith whatsoever and still carry out the commandments simply because you are commanded to do so. And there have been people who did that, who said, I'm a Jew, this is what Jews do, my faith notwithstanding, right, the lack thereof, notwithstanding. Doesn't matter. I'll do it because this is a tradition. I'll do it because this is the way. I'll do it because this is the path, and this is what I was commanded to do. Now, some people say that you need the faith and you need intent and you need to really put yourself in there. Otherwise, it's just performative, vacant, and bereft of any sort of meaning whatsoever. But there are those who would say, no, if that were the case, then belief would have to be a commandment, a prerequisite, and it's not, at least according to according to most halachic rulers and scholars. Belief in and of itself, faith in and of itself, while it carries great significance and importance, is not a prerequisite and is not a standalone commandment. So, when you say, don't you think unwavering faith is the most important tenet? No, it is not. Keeping the commandments is the most important tenet of Judaism. That's what I would say, traditionally speaking. Let us continue for a little bit more. A little bit more. You're looking like a sheik right now. Yes, Lord Pizza. I'm the Lord Sheik Your Booty. That's a Frank Zappa album. It is important, indeed. But didn't Abraham have faith? Yes, it says, yes, that's right. But what Abraham is more important, right? What Abraham did is he hearkened to the call that told him, go forth, lech lecha, and he answered that call. He listened to it. He answered it. He made a move. He did not stay in Haran when Terach, his father, died. He went from Ur Kasdim. They were going to go to Canaan. They stayed in Haran. His father died, and he kept on going. He made a move. He physically walked. He acted. He was a man of action. If you look at Abraham's account in the Bible, right, in the Torah, he's always doing something, always going somewhere, always something, whether it's digging a well or making a covenant or building an altar, or he's a man of action. That's what he's doing there. He's always doing. So yeah. Is the red cow thing real or fanfic? Hi, Lumiere. No, it is definitely in the Torah portion of Chukat. So it's not just a cow, it's a heifer specifically, right? And not a bull. So yes, a red female cow. It is a real thing. And Rav Yoshua Friedman, the Nazarite rabbi Yoshua Friedman here at the Temple Institute, he says that it will be Nazarite priests who have not been defiled by death, right, by human death and corpses, that will be able to slaughter the red heifer, purify, right, and burn its body and sprinkle it and in the water and purify the rest of the children of Israel. That could be pretty good. Pretty good. Have you ever seen the Holy Sepulchre? I don't know what sepulchre is. Do you mean sepulchre? I've been outside of it. I don't go into churches, so I had to stay outside. Sudlosh, good to see you again, man. Good to see you. Any Israeli vegan dish you would like to recommend and have us try? Not really. I mean, again, I'm a hummus and falafel man. That's what I am. That's the best vegan thing in the world. Hummus, falafel, salad, olives, some pepper there for the immune system, right? Some hot pepper, some schug. Good stuff. Real good stuff. Fiery lion? Where did you get that? Vigil, you're conversing with someone in the chat, I take it? Wonder if a Scottish Highland cow is considered a red heifer. The red heifer has strict halachic binding principles, one of which is that it cannot have more than one non-red hair. If it has two non-red hairs, it is not a red heifer. It says para adumat mima, like an absolutely red heifer. Baba Ganoush, Bamba and popcorn, it goes on. Yes, it does. I love Baba Ganoush. I love Bamba. I love popcorn. Definitely yes. Whiskey is best and scotch tastes amazing. Yes, it does. Back in my drinking days, I loved single malt. I loved single malt whenever I got my hands on it. I also loved regular blended scotch as well. I loved drinking beer. I loved having a beer on Friday before Shabbos, and I loved drinking whiskey or scotch between the fish and the meat on Shabbat in the 3 meals. It's just so much fun. I haven't had alcohol in 16 years, but I do remember it, and it's lovely. It really, really is, to get a nice Shabbos buzz going. I'll try once more, says Cap Dangle. Did you know the word fascism came from the Italian word fascico, and that the word dictator evolved from the word penis potato? I did not know that. Thank you for enlightening me. Thank you. So in their minds, they're reversing victim and abuser, Danielle says. Danielle, yeah, people say that Jews are all about that Darvo life. I disagree, but that's just me. Falafel is deep fried. Yes, it is, but it's still made, it's still glorious. Yes, it is. Great noticer. Good to see you again, man. If I created a red heifer steakhouse, would that be an insult to Jews? Nope, you're too late. There already is a steakhouse called Para Aduma. There is such a place in Jerusalem already, or was. And it was not an insult to Jews. Many Jews went there and ate. And from what I understand, it was more of the upper end steakhouse. Why Muslims have goats as wives, says Gordo. I don't know that Muslims have goats as wives. I don't think I've ever come across a Muslim that had a goat for a wife. I would think that according to the Quran, it would not be permissible to legally, lawfully, according to Sharia, wed a goat. But I have no idea. Probably, but I have no idea. It was my suggestion, bro. Don't take credit. What do you mean, Kunal? You were literally reacting to the poll that I put up where I asked, should I revert to a no politics policy on the channel? But if you want to think that you were the one who came up with it first, you go right ahead. It's all good. It's all good. They sure as hell didn't build the pyramids. No, I don't think anybody thinks Jews built the pyramids. They've been there for way, way before. Way before. Ah, you covered your grease hair. Thank God, says Idea Diversa. No, my hair isn't that greasy, actually. But okay. This rabbi is fun to listen to. I am not a rabbi, Lumiere. Don't make that mistake. I'm not a rabbi, not a scholar, or a preacher, or a teacher, or a sage. I'm just a dude. I'm a dude here in Jerusalem, a simple dumbass in the Middle Eastern world, coming at you live, raw, unfiltered, and unscripted. That's me. Let us continue. I finished my coffee. Okay. I think I will now say goodbye. Yes. Okay. I'm going to say goodbye. Good people, this has been such a lovely live stream. I will see you next time where the wonders never cease on the next live stream. Be blessed, be a blessing to others, be the light in other people's lives. A quick prayer for unity and love and righteousness and justice to cover the world. May God pour his spirit upon all flesh like the water covers the seabed. May we be able to overcome our weaknesses, our discomforts, our differences. May we be able to overcome our shortcomings, our faults and frailties, and where we need to be better, may we buck up and be better than what we are and come together as a unified human race, God willing, God willing. May war and bloodshed and conflict and terrorism and death be lifted clean out of creation even right now as I am speaking these words. May we know a new era of embracing each other's humanity plainly, simply, humbly, as we were made in the image of God. If I missed you in the chat, please leave a comment. If you don't want to comment, but you still want to hit me up, please leave a DM, right? Hit me up in the DMs. Hebrew Nazarite, you can look for my tree. I'm on X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And that is it, good people. This has been so much fun. I deeply appreciate those watching now, those watching later. Every like, every sub, every view, every chat, every comment, the trolls, the haters, the Nazis, the insulters, the vitriol, slingers. And did I miss anyone? The people asking good questions, the people asking important questions, the people asking thought-provoking questions, the people who are populating the chat with their spam conspiracy theories or whatever it may be. I deeply appreciate your time, your attention, your engagement. This has been really lovely. Until next time, L'chaim Shalom from Jerusalem.